Ladies and gentlemen, before we start this episode of the Wadcast podcast, I want to talk to you about a few things. First of all, I want to tell you that you picked a good episode to listen to. I have been trying to hunt this guest down for a long time. He lives in Tennessee now. That's a hint. He coaches some of the greatest CrossFitters in the world. That's a hint. I think you know who he is. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris Hinshaw. And I have always wanted to talk to this guy. I'm fascinated with the work he does and with his success and his achievements on his own. Well, I finally got to meet him. I'm here at the CrossFit Games in Madison, where he was hooked up with him and brought Crazy Bobby with me. God knows why, but it was unbelievable. Bobby is being loved by everyone in the CrossFit community. Meanwhile, he knows nothing about CrossFit. We are having a great time here. Chris Hinshaw is a marvelous human being. This episode is awesome. It's one of those ones where it could have gone on for 12 hours. And it kind of did, because after the episode, we all went to dinner, a whole big group of us. And I sat across from Chris, and we should have recorded our entire conversation there. Sometimes I feel like I'm asking all the questions that I want to hear, and I hope I'm asking the questions you want to hear. So I'm relentless. People probably want to kill me. I've asked more questions than Alex Trebek. I know I'm not the best listener, but I try, and I'm trying to get better at it. So hopefully you enjoy this episode. He was unbelievable. As I'm recording this, everybody is probably going to bed, and tomorrow is the first event of the individuals, the first event of the teams, and it's still a secret as to what that event may be. Now, I know everybody's worried because, you know what, I don't even want to talk about this, because when you listen to it, it will have already gone off. So as you hear this, the field's been eliminated in half. So I hope my buddy Hunter McIntyre is still in the field. I know he's worked really hard, and I just want to say go Hunter. And if anything, if he doesn't go very far, it doesn't matter to me. He's a winner already, and it was very entertaining what he did. So I'm all about the entertainment factor. So good luck to everyone in the games. I hope it goes wonderfully. I hope it exceeds everyone's expectations, because there's been a lot of turmoil this year. I'm not big, as you know, on raw CrossFitting. I am a cynic in all regards, and I just like to find humor in everything. And I've never been a goose stepper. I never lockstep, goose step, whatever it is. I just don't like to get too into something. And being here at Madison, I felt like, oh my God, I've become part of the cult. But the truth is, I saw a lot of great friends. I hung out with a lot of great people, had a great time, and I do see the positivity that goes on here. I mean, it's a bunch of fit people getting healthy and, promoting health rather than, shitty things that make people unhealthy. And so I do commend that. I mean, there is a lot of obsession and obsessive compulsive disorder and narcissism too. But yeah, we're not going to get into the negatives. Let's just be positive today, okay? That's what Bobby did. He kept me positive. I want to thank everybody for listening, being part of the show, everything you do. If you want to be part of the show, you want to help out the show, please go to our Patreon, donate. $5 a month gets you into the drawing, basically, where every once in a while or every week I pull out a name, and that person gets a Myopux and a Leopard Claw. Both. Myopux is awesome. It's an electronic muscle stimulator that you connect to your body. It basically sends a muscle stimulation into your body that makes your muscles move, which then flushes the blood into your lymphatic system. So it expedites the inflammatory process. Now, it's also a TENS machine, so it can actually send off it kind of hits your nerves in a different way, that if you've got pain going on, it will send a different kind of sensation to those nerves, which make your nerves kind of forget about the pain. So it makes pain go away too. There's two different settings, basically. You can set it for pain settings or for recovery. It's incredible. It's wireless. You just put the pads on the muscles that you want to start stimulating, and then you work it from a little kind of iPhone, and you can take it with you. You can wear it on an airplane probably and let it just work. Anytime you're sitting in front of the TV, you want to recover. I'm not making guarantees of this, but probably in about a third of the time. Something that would take you 6 weeks, try 2. So I use it all the time. I love it. And I just hope you guys can go to our Patreon and go on Patreon, add just $5 a month. That's, you probably get almost 5 episodes a month. So it's like $1 an episode just to help out the show, keep it going. It really pays some of the bills and takes care of Ernie. And, we hope you like the show. So, just go and do that. And, this week's winner is, who is the winner? I think I know this guy. Mike O'Malley. Mike O'Malley sent us an email at wadcastpodcast@yahoo.com, and you will get yourself a Myopux and a leopard claw. What else? You want to see me live? Go to eddyift.com. eddyift, IFFT.com. Follow me on Instagram too, please, at eddyift. And you can follow me. You can follow me on Facebook. I have a Wadcast. I have an @Wadcast. I have a Wadcast podcast on Facebook. I have a Wadcast podcast on Twitter. Follow it. I have Eddie Ift on all of those. So there's Eddie Ift and Wadcast in everything. You can follow Eddie Ift or Wadcast or both. That would be great. And you can, while you're at it, go to iTunes, rate, review, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the show in the rankings. I don't know why I'm singing everything, but I've got some live shows coming up. I'm in Nebraska all this weekend, in Omaha, Nebraska at the Funny Bone. That is the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of August. Then I leave for New York City. I will be at the Comedy Cellar in New York City Sunday, Monday. No, I'm not there Monday. Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week. So I believe that is the 5th, 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. You can see me at the Comedy Cellar, Village Underground, New York City. Tickets at comedycellar.com. It's the best club in the world, my favorite club in the world, my home away from home, the place where I started. And if you want to see some incredible shows, come see me there. And all the other comedians are phenomenal. So then I will be in Wilmington, Delaware at the Dead Crow. The Dead Crow. I'll be there. These plane flights that I'm trying to buy are ridiculous, out of this world, exorbitant costs. These airlines are raping me. I'm going to be at the Dead Crow in Wilmington, North Carolina on the 9th and 10th. Doing a really good interview while I'm there. Then I head back to LA. I'll be in LA for a few days, and I'm off that weekend. And then I head to Sun Valley, Idaho to catch back up with Crazy Bobby. I'll be performing at the Argios, I think I'm selling it right, Argios Theater in Sun Valley, Idaho. Bobby's hometown. Crazy Bobby lives there now. And then the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, I will be at Liquid's Comedy Club in Boise, Idaho. Then I head off to Hyenas in Fort Worth, Texas. That's going to be hot. End of August? That won't be bad. And then the 6th and 7th, I love this club, in the Comedy Store in La Jolla, California. That's San Diego. Come out and see me. And that's it. Alrighty. So check out all my dates, eddyift.com. There's other dates coming up in LA and Reno, Nevada, and where else? Calgary and Alaska. I'm coming everywhere. So check me out. Get your tickets, eddyift.com. And today's show is brought to you by Dirty Bird Energy Soap, which is a soap that's set out to disrupt the bar soap industry. So check them out. They're sustainably sourced, all natural ingredients, wake you up. It's got energy, because they pair the peppermint oil with caffeine, and they come in water tight containers. So they got great reviews, 20% off, 20% off of purchase of $20 or more if you use the code WODCAST at dirtybirdenergy.com. Okay? dirtybirdenergy.com. You can subscribe too. Okay? How about this? We will also give away 2 winners, 4 packs of the Dirty Bird Complete Care multi-packs to the Patreon winners. Okay? So we will announce those Patreon winners in the middle of the show. All right? So somebody from Patreon is going to get Dirty Bird Energy. So go to dirtybirdenergy.com. Now enjoy this episode with the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Hinshaw. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wadcast Podcast. I am your host, Eddie Ift, coming to you live from the CrossFit Games. Well, not really the CrossFit Games, but the pregame. It's getting weird. We're pre-gaming it. We are in a hotel, looking at the state capitol, beautiful Marriott Hotel here in Madison, Wisconsin, looking at the state capitol. And I've got a guest today. Not only do I have a guest, I've got to preface that with I've got a co-host who you all know, Crazy Bobby, they ask for you, Bobby, now.
Fantastic.
They want you on the show. So Bobby is here. We are here to support our friend Hunter McIntyre. I'm here to get lots of interviews. I don't know if I've gone to a lot of CrossFit Games. I don't know if I would have come if Hunter didn't get in it.
I've never been.
I was in Chicago doing shows, and I just drove a car up, and I've got to be in Iowa on Thursday. Or no, Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska on Thursday. And I said, I'm going. So Bobby flew in.
Yeah,
today.
Eddie called me up the other day. He said, Bob, we're going to CrossFit Games. I go, where? Madison, Wisconsin. He says, I'm flying to Chicago, got a show. I'll pick you up in Madison at the airport. When? Monday. All right. And here we are. And we surprised Hunter about an hour and a half ago. He had no idea I was coming.
So we are here with our guest who is, I've wanted to have this guy on for a long, long time. I think forget where I first saw your work, but you might know him as, I don't know, you're like the CrossFit guru now when it comes to running. You are the guy. And endurance, and it's Chris Hinshaw, everybody. You all know who he is. If you follow CrossFit, I don't need to give all his accolades, but there are so many, and we'll get into a lot of them during the show. Thank you very much for coming and doing the show. I appreciate it. I know you just came from coaching your team.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, this is such a huge treat for me. I mean, as I was saying earlier, I thought that this was going to be like a 15-minute piece, which I was super bummed. And so when you said, no, we'll open it up a little longer than that, I was like, okay.
Yeah, let's shoot the shit.
Yeah, to be able to be on your show, this is a treat for me.
Thank you very much. So you were you're coaching Mayhem this year. You're working with a lot of athletes, though.
I've scaled it way back, actually.
Oh, really?
Way back. I think that part of the for me, what I'm interested in is athletes that really push the boundaries and redefine what a general population enthusiast can do. What I'm interested in is redefining that group. And I already realized that, what I can do with a recreational athlete. And what I mean by recreational is a non-specialist, somebody who is truly interested in doing a variety of things. And I've been doing that for a long enough amount of time with a number of people, and for me, what really gets me fired up is someone that really carves out the next generation and redefines what's possible for general population.
Okay, so really good time to ask you. These guys that are breaking new barriers and going to the next level that we see all the time, which are doing things that, going back, I've been CrossFitting for about 10 years, a little over 10 years, and I'm just amazed at where we've gone. I mean, some of the workouts that they do now, or the workouts we did then 10 years ago, wouldn't even. I mean, the teenage girls are doing. It's a joke for them. So my question is, with these guys breaking all these barriers, are you at all worried that they are damaging themselves for future in life?
I worry a lot about teenage athletes. I worry about them pushing way too hard at way too young of an age. I'm concerned about the loads that they lift. I'm concerned that they don't have proper technique. Mm-hmm. And there is just a rush for the prize. They want to create greatness immediately. This whole thing about wishful thinking, I mean, they just want things to magically appear, and they're cutting corners on things that are going to preserve their health late into their life, and that worries me.
Yeah. But what about, like, you take someone you work with, Matt Fraser. Matt is doing things that no human being can do.
Right.
What about, I mean, I've talked to everybody in this sport, and you look at some of the guys who were in the original CrossFit Games. And I just had Ryan Fisher on the show the other day, and he was telling me about his knee. He has no cartilage in his knee now. And, some of the other guys I've heard that are very injured and very hurt and can't, is this going to happen like it does with NFL athletes? Are these guys taking it too far to excel at the sport?
That's the thing, is that in every sport, when you have athletes that are taking it to extremes, I mean, they're way beyond general fitness. These athletes are working the fringes of what the human body is capable of doing. And they're doing things that, in my opinion, stacking high intensity on top of high intensity on top of high intensity it's something that's not really ever been done. The platform that these athletes have created in terms of their base has been bypassed. They're essentially going for high intensity, high strength in a multitude of movements in parallel.
So can't you recover from that if you rest a lot in between?
You can, but I'm just concerned about the amount of destruction that they're creating, because they're really bypassing this traditional platform of base building, right? So they're strictly going after short time domains, very high intensity workouts.
Without any, like your shirt says, building your engine, right? Getting the baseline. And so a lot of people are fight or flight instantly is what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. And so you have some athletes like, Haley Adams is a really good example. Here's an athlete that she, as a teen, won the CrossFit Games last year. She qualified as an individual female this year. She's 18 years old. She has truly taken her time as an athlete. She had a background in running. She had a good background in gymnastics. But she honestly never really focused on building strength. It's something where she's exercising a lot of patience in. She recognizes that her body is still maturing, it's still developing, and what she wants to do is develop her ability in many different movements to move for long amounts of time, basically building her aerobic system in a multitude of movements, which gives her an incredible foundation to build intensity off of. That athlete will be interesting to me down the road.
Yeah.
If she can truly have the genetics to get strong, I think that she can redefine where the sport can go.
Wow.
Because of patience.
Mm-hmm.
And because of her foundation.
Of course.
Can't have a better foundation than gymnastics.
That's
Gymnastics is just absolutely amazing for kids.
Yeah, I think that to work those skills, when we talk about balance and agility, you really learn those things in gymnastics. But I also think that you learn how to overcome fear. These gymnasts are really put on a stage and asked to do something that's seemingly impossible.
Right, the balance beam. It doesn't matter what event. It's all that way. I was a gymnast from 7 to 14 and then wrestled and played football. But the gymnastics have been such a base in my life. I could still walk 50 meters on my hands.
Wow.
At 6'2", 200. It really, I move differently than people my size.
That's incredible. So I never developed that ability. But I'll tell you one thing, though, that I see in gymnasts, and I see it also in weightlifters, the inability to breathe properly. The mechanics,
the holding of the breath.
They just don't understand the mechanics of breathing. They don't understand the concept of how to breathe and the rhythm of the breath and how the brain needs to know when the next dose of energy is coming. They, I believe, fail prematurely in their diaphragm and intercostals, which causes their limbs, their arms and their legs to fail.
Yeah, the fatigue.
Right. And the fatigue is actually incurring internally. And so we see like swimmers, for example, have incredible rhythm of the breath just because of the way in which they swim, the cycle of the stroke. We also see it in all sorts of endurance sports. But in terms of the CrossFit community, I see one of the biggest limitations that come out of weightlifting and gymnastics is the weakness with their intercostals and diaphragm and the breathing muscles. And that's one of the things. Like, go back and look at old content from Fraser. Go back and watch him finish a workout and the way in which he breathes, and he creates this over-exaggeration of trying to open up his lungs and get that breath in there. To me, I look at that and I say, wow, there's his failure mode. Wow. There's his weakness.
Wow. I never would have thought that.
So Eddie and I are very similar in fight or flight. We're sitting still before he gets on stage. 155 beats a minute. He's standing still. Same with me before an audition or before I get on the mat.
Why is that?
Nerves, brain, not paying attention to the breath, like you said. But recently, in the last couple of years, we've been working on nasal breathing. I've been working on going up to 150 beats, dropping it below 80 beats in like 90 seconds, getting control, starting to have a consciousness to what actually is taking place in the body.
That's interesting. So for me, I would normally, I would, as coming from a prior competitive background, I love that rush, that anxiety. And I would create even greater anxiety coming onto like a podcast like this because that was my charge. I loved it. And I met with somebody over in Hawaii about a month ago, and he says, but why do you do that? It really honestly just drains you. Why don't what you do is you just sit there beforehand and say, you know what? There's no reason for me to be nervous. There's no reason for me to be anxious. I got this. I've done podcasts in the past. I've gone on TV. I've got in front of people and come in with this feeling of confidence instead of like trying to create artificial anxiety because that's where you get your charge. And I'm trying that approach and I'm finding success with that. It finds where I'm actually carrying my enthusiasm through the entire conversation instead of going out fast and dying.
I had a starter tell me that when I used to run that said to me, before the event, all the guys are jumping up and down, doing these, and he said, why would you use your energy?
Yeah.
Why don't you save that energy for the race? And I would jump, pulling my knees into my chest, trying to get that adrenaline going, and I wanted to be ready and have it firing. And I thought, you have to be firing. And he said, no, that's what your warm-up was for.
Yeah.
He said, now you want to calm yourself because you don't want to waste any energy as you take off out of the blocks.
I think that's brilliant because you see that all the time where athletes who have never been to the CrossFit Games and then they come onto the big stage and they bomb and they have no idea why. And that adrenaline rush, that is real. So I always try and take Games athletes, for example, to a swimming pool. And one of the things that I really enjoy doing is, so Games athletes, there's a level of arrogance. I mean, like with any great athlete, you have to have that attitude, right? Like I'm the alpha male in the room or female. And what I do is I take them to the pool and it's like, hey, can you hold your breath for a minute? Dry land. I mean, like a joke, right? That's what they do. It's like, why are you wasting my time? So I have a stopwatch, and I'm like, I put it on the ground. We all sit there and they hold their breath for a minute. And then I take them to the pool and I said, okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to put your feet in the water. And when I say 3, 2, 1, go, I want you to slide off the edge of the pool deck, down into the water, down towards the bottom of the pool. And what you're going to do is you're going to swim underneath the length of the pool, which is 25 yards, with no breathing. And if they've never done it before, they'll pop up in the middle of the pool.
Right.
And they made it all of about 7 seconds.
Yep.
There's your adrenaline. Wow. That's what created the fatigue. And so you're right about that jumping up and down. I watch the athletes, and the ones that jump up and down, I just put a line through them.
That's hilarious.
I had coaches in high school, one school in particular on Long Island, Huntington. Kids, cups of coffee before they got on the mat. To
get all stoked.
Yeah, to get them out of their minds. To get, so they come out of the gate. And then I, like, again, too much adrenaline. I was the best wrestler in the room in practice, and I had trouble with the performance, right? You got that anxiety.
Yep.
And when I played football, running back, fourth quarter when I was exhausted and couldn't think anymore, nobody could touch me. My brain, and he and I talk about this for years because we get so amped up before we do stuff. He actually did a CrossFit thing against Kenny Kane, a bunch of stuff, and he's kicking Kenny Kane's butt. But then, Kenny's slow and steady.
Just
three-quarters of the way through, all of a sudden Eddie starts to die. And Kenny's fast up. But everybody's like, can't believe how fast he's moving the first 2 minutes. Like, who is this guy? Superman. And he just starts dying out.
Great. It was like 30 power cleans or something with 135 and then 50 GHDs or something. It was something crazy where I went through the power cleans like I was running a 100-meter sprint.
Yeah.
And then I ran over to the GHDs and I started going. And Kenny's just taking his time on the power cleans. And then he just keeps coming up on me. And I'm going, and I can just see him next to me. And he's just, and I can almost count his, he's getting 3 for every one. I'm taking breaks and everybody's screaming in the room. They're like, you got 2 more left, Eddie. And Kenny's like, I gotcha. And he's just coming from behind me. But it's funny you say that about the nervousness. I surf a lot, and it's almost like CrossFitters should all learn this, because what happens in surfing is people don't understand. Nobody watching surfing understands. You paddle into a wave and you sprint. It is a full sprint into the wave so that you can get that wave. The more efficient you are, the less of a sprint it is. But, the pros are just so efficient. But if you're just a regular surfer, you really muscle hard to get that wave. So you muscle hard, you get the wave, you do a push-up, and everybody's like, oh, just a push-up. It's the hardest push-up of your life because it's off balance. Then you're into a squat stance where then you're rotating, okay? As you wipe out, water is throwing you under where there is, your board can hit you, the reef can hit you, the bottom of the ocean can hit you, you're getting tumbled, split every single way, and everybody goes, well, you're only held down for 6 seconds. Those 6 seconds become the 6 longest seconds of your life. Right. And guys always say, we do like the 6-second rule where, because most people panic, and then they will even open their mouth underwater trying to get a breath when they go for the surface, because sometimes you can't even get to the surface. On bigger waves, you're being held down for a long, long, long time. Yep. And the pro surfers have all learned, and I've worked with some of these guys, that I've said to them, I said, what do you think the longest you've ever been held under? And they're like 45 seconds. Now that's an eternity. Yeah. People listening are like, big deal, 40. I can hold my breath 40. And Bobby and I were just doing it. We were running up the steps here.
With no air.
I said, hold your breath and see how many flights of steps you can go up.
Yeah, or blow all the air out and see how far you go.
On a negative.
Wow, so just from the surfing thing to the blowing out, that can take us down a rat hole. 15 minutes I could talk about just those two things. Surfing is one of the most incredible things in terms of just what you said, that level of fear. So the level of fear changes everything. So when you I just had to take a deep water course because I'm doing this big wave. And what they taught me was that the fear is everything. And one of the things they told me, they said, when you get thrown under, it's all about relaxation. Yep. And the more you relax, the longer you can hold your breath. So I've been working on my breath hold. I'm up to 3.5 minutes of a breath hold. 3.5 minutes sounds really long, but you put me in that panicky situation, it's gone in 5 seconds. Yep. It's gone in 5 seconds. And the more you move your body, even the shorter it gets. Mm-hmm. So they say what you're supposed to do when you wipe out is completely relax. Actually, one guy was teaching me elongate the body so you get pulled out. Don't ball up. You get pulled out into the rip or where the water's flowing. But relax, and he said he thinks that he goes to a barbecue. In his head, he closes his eyes, and he goes, I'm getting out the chicken. I'm putting some skewers through it. I'm putting it on the grill. I turn the grill on. I turn the charcoal, whatever I'm doing. Then I take it off. I'm going to put some barbecue sauce on it. And he goes through that in his mind to get himself in a completely relaxed state so that he doesn't lose that oxygen. So I'm just bringing this back to let you take off on it. These CrossFitters that come in, like you say, with this anxiousness and this pent-up energy, it's watch Rich, watch Fraser. They're not like that. Nope.
They couldn't be more relaxed walking up to that bar.
They almost are so relaxed they look unprepared.
Yeah. Right. I'm amazed that they can pick up the bar.
Yeah. The surfing thing that you brought up is a fascinating piece for me. I've spent some time with the surfers on the North Shore.
Yeah, okay. Those are the guys
Nathan Florence and so John's brother, right? So we've been talking a lot about just the concepts of maybe they should be evaluating their aerobic fitness so that before they fall and go under on a wave and have to do a long breath hold, that they're more aerobically fit, meaning that when they go under, they're less fatigued. Mm-hmm. And so part of it is that, I mean, just take, for example, the sport of surfing. A lot of times, when I start asking people questions about their sport, and surfing was no different, I'm just trying to understand it. And I know surfing, I surf, and so I have a decent understanding, and I have come from a swimming background. And so
swimming was your collegiate sport, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so
what stroke?
Backstroke.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tough one.
Yeah, so that was actually, when I got into the sport of triathlons, it was kind of cool. I was super skinny and I was very late in development, but because I was a decent swimmer, it gave me like a level of confidence because
you had an edge.
And I came out of the water early.
Yeah, and that's the fear also in triathlons. That's probably the most fearful event.
Well, I mean, that was the thing, is that for me, I thought that swim was just a joke. I mean, why even have it? Like the Ironman in Hawaii, it's like a waste of time. It's just a warm-up. So why don't we just all agree to get that and start on the bike? Yeah, it made no sense to me of having that in there. I mean, what's the point, right?
But people that get into triathlons, they start in swimming and they think, oh, I'm a great swimmer. Yeah. And it's a whole new world when you're in open water.
Yeah, and that part never bothered me. I never really thought about any of that. I've swam in the ocean. I'll tell you though, I did an Ironman in Brazil, and
what's your best finish? Second
in Hawaii.
Wow.
Yeah. So in this one,
who's you lose to?
Guy by the name of Scott Tinley.
Oh yeah.
I heard that name. I heard that name.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So in Brazil though, they're like, so we're just gonna put a boat out 1.2 miles, and you're gonna swim straight out.
Ooh.
Well, if you've ever been offshore 1.2 miles and you turn around...
Scary.
I couldn't even see South America. I mean, it was like, where did the whole continent go? 1.2 miles is far.
Yep.
And when you're in the black water...
Yep.
That got me a little scared because I was out there by myself, and that was a funny story.
I was an ocean lifeguard, and I was a terrible swimmer. I was a good runner. I came in, when I tried out for the patrol, out of 80 people, I finished 79th in the swim. One guy got in the boat at the turnaround point, so I finished last, but I finished first in the run. And so they brought me in for competition. They wanted me to compete. But I thought that you just pass the test and you get to sit on the stand. Then we had 2 weeks of training, and because I was such a bad swimmer, they would row me out in the boat, like you said, out to the flags and I believe it was 3/4 of a mile, because it's a mile and a half for the boat row race. They would go 3/4 of a mile out, drop me out, and go, see you in the beach. And they would take off without me, and I would swim in. And they were always ahead of me in case, like I would die, but they would row and just go, and I'd come up and they'd go, put your head in the water now. And I was like, but and sure enough, just 2 weeks of that. By 2 weeks, I learned to swim. I learned to swim well, because every day they'd come down in the Jeep to my beach, and they'd be like, "Ift, get in the boat," and I'd be like, "It's happening again." And it overcame my fear of it, though.
I mean, it's a real concern. One of the things that I have learned from Fraser. So Fraser almost drowned here in that swim run in 2017. Yeah, went under.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it was really a terrifying thing. So the story is, and I know we got to catch up on Brazil. We'll talk about that.
We go on tangents. You can always bring us back.
And then the surfing thing. But I mean, so yeah, it was a 1.5 mile run into a 500 meter swim into a 1.5 mile run.
Yeah, I remember it.
And I know what Matt can do, and he was, went out just correctly on pace. It was around a 5:30 mile pace. Entered the water first. Passed around the first buoy in first, and then Brent Fikowski, who is a better swimmer, came around him, and just like Matt knows, he knows that roughly 25% easier drafting, so he slips in behind Fikowski, and when he does that, he has to accelerate his kick. And
where do you get it, in the head?
Well, so what happened is that
why does he have to accelerate the kick?
In order to stay with him, Fikowski's that much faster.
Okay,
so in order to stay with him, he had to pick up his speed, and he went beyond his maximum sustainable pace, his lactate threshold. His legs were the inefficient portion of his swimming, and what happened was he popped. He blew up while in the water. And if this happens on dry land, let's say you blow up while running, you just stop. But what do you do if you can't swim slow enough and recover? You drown. Yeah. And that's what happened to him.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It was one of the most incredible things. So for me, as responsible for his swimming, the first thing that was like, whoa, like what we have to do is we have to figure out exactly what did happen. Because part of it was he was like, I ran too fast. Well, if you ran too fast, how'd you get around the buoy in first? Right? Yeah. You couldn't have hung on that long.
Yeah.
So what we figured out was the kick. So we started to really develop his aerobic system in the kick, right? So every movement's unique and every intensity within a movement's unique. So just because he's a great runner doesn't mean that he's a good kicker in swimming. So we did no fin kicking, we did short fin kicking and long fin kicking, but then it was also a diagnosis of what is the weakest link within the kick.
How many beat kick would you do on something like that, kind of
like a 2-beat kick?
A 2-beat kick.
Right, but he would accelerate to an 8-beat kick, and you could see that in the video.
Geez. So it was a weakness like there. I saw you going there. Was it weakness like hip flexors?
You're so good.
I saw where you were going. I couldn't wait to say it.
You're just like my wife. Boy.
Wife, that's fantastic.
Just finishing sentences. Yeah, and so part is like you always want to look at like in the surfing, where is the best opportunity for improvement? You don't have unlimited free time. You don't. No matter, even if you're an athlete that just does one sport, you don't have unlimited free time. You have to find the highest value, and what you want to do is you want to get the athlete to buy into that's the highest value. And once you get the athlete to buy into it, now you got them. They're hooked. They take that ownership. And so part that
would be hard to sell that to him, though, that we're going to get in the pool and do kicking drills.
So he
all
called
the things he has to do.
He called it all like fluff, filler, miles, and he's also, we would do 2,000 meters of kicking in a workout, and he'd get out of the pool and I did 1,200. And I'm like, no, you did 3,200. He's all, I don't count that whole kicking and fins and all of that. That's just a bunch of BS yardage. It doesn't count to him. And it's like, no, it does count. But the whole thing about identification of if it is the kick, right, so we know that aerobically we've got to build up that metabolic pathway. But what about a muscular portion? And where is that weakness? And what we found it was the hip flexor. And we had to build up his capacity in the hip flexor. And what I noticed on him was when his hip flexor would fail, he would over-exaggerate the bend in his knee, and his knee in the kick would drop below his torso. And if your knee is breaking the plane of the torso, you stop.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what was happening to him.
Because he's dragging himself.
Right.
Yeah, he's dragging.
So it was a double edge that he was going from a 2-beat kick to an 8-beat kick, but also kicking from a high hamstring hip flexor and now kicking from his knee. Yeah, so same thing holds true in surfing. So when I was, like with Nathan Florence and talking to them about surfing, and I went and
Let me ask you how that happened. How did you get hooked up with Nathan?
So I had a relationship with Progenics, and
oh yeah, I know they've got the place over there and on the North Shore. Yeah.
And so we've stayed over there before with Kai Garcia and his family, and amazing spot.
Yeah.
And so part of what I told Progenics is that I would love to work with you. I don't want anything out of the relationship, but other than what I'm interested in is myself learning. And you guys have this great connection over there on the North Shore. I'll just want to meet the people over there, and I'll pay my own way. I will go, but I just want introduction to the athletes, and for the sole purpose of me learning. And so I would sit down and
those guys all want that, so that's great.
Oh, it's for both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know, so John's brother, I was watching him row one day, and he's like, so what do you think of my rowing? I'm like, have you ever rowed before? He's all, no, I just, started up here. Here's this kid that's just a surfer, great surfer. I'm all, why don't you just do a 2K for time? Now, Most people would just like, I'm never doing that. He's just like, so can I just do that like right now? Well, if you're good to go, let's just go for it. The kid pulls a 646, and he's never rode a 2K before. A 646. Wow. I mean, so you watch these kids.
I saw some of his workouts. He's a tremendous athlete.
How big is he? How much does he weigh?
He's a little bit bigger than most surfers.
Yeah, he's probably 5'11", but he's lean. He's probably my shape, but
I've always been impressed with those guys. When I was on the beach patrol, we had a national champion swimmer. We had lots of rowers that were on Penn and Boston College and all these really good rowing teams. A lot of swimmers, an Olympic runner from Villanova. Great athletes. And we had competitions all the time. And when you'd have the swims, sometimes the best competitive swimmers didn't win. You would see the water polo guys, because of the open water.
Yep.
The water polo guys would do just as good, maybe beat them or come in right with them. And one day we're doing a swim, and there was always two guys, the water polo guy and the guy that's national champion from Syracuse, coming in always first and second. And all of a sudden we look and we're like, wait a minute, who's in first? And we're like, that's not Kennedy, that's not Ziegler. And all of a sudden, this head pops up, and the Kennedy and Ziegler have bathing caps on. And this raggedy hair comes out of the water, and everyone's like, that's Shane Purdy. And he's just this local surfer. And he's just beat the two of these guys out of the water.
That's rad.
And everyone went, what just happened? And I'm amazed at, because it's not, when you're paddling on a surfboard, it's nothing like swim. I mean, it's a little bit like swimming, but it's not.
Right.
And just their ability and their being a waterman. You understand that. The people in Hawaii, the ability they have to understand currents, waves,
right,
have zero fear. In Hawaii and the North Shore, you get thrown in the water when you're 2 years old, and they're like, good luck.
Yep.
And there's zero fear, and they have the ability to navigate through it.
Yeah, you saw that in Dubai with Roman Khrennikov. So he was the guy that won, the Russian guy that can't get the visa to come over here and compete.
So he didn't get it.
No. So in Dubai, he
stopped meddling in our elections.
He's a kid that made a silly mistake, and that silly mistake in terms of a commentary. I don't want to get into the whole story, but those things, our government doesn't mess around with it, and jokes are not jokes when you're trying to come over into a country. But this guy, I've worked with him for 2 years and 3 years now, and he's one of the best swimmers in the sport. And in Dubai, he's never swam in the ocean before. Mm-hmm. And so he finishes the run in first place, goes to the water, and he's never encountered waves, and he couldn't manage it. And he ends up coming out of the in 5th place, loses the lead, and that would have been a home run, easy win.
What year did you first start getting involved with CrossFit?
2012.
Okay,
so I actually started in 2011 years ago.
Okay, so about the same time I did. Did you see the CrossFit Games when they first had their first swim ever? When Miko Salo broke his eardrum?
The first was the one at Camp Pendleton, the triathlon that they did. That's what I saw.
Okay, so the year before in Santa Monica, they did Murph.
Yeah, I didn't
and they
see
did
that.
it with a swim. Miko Salo broke his eardrum, and Deborah Carson, I can't remember her third name. She's married. Deborah Carson, whatever her name was. Sorry, Deborah. She went about halfway into the waves and turned around and came out and was like, I'm out. And I'm standing on the beach with some of the LA lifeguards and surf all around there and Nola, the guards, and they're laughing.
Yeah.
Because they're like, these are 1 to 2 foot waves.
Yeah.
These are not even, and the CrossFitters were all like, whoa. And, they were having difficulty navigating these tiny little waves.
Yep.
Cut to, I don't think many of them would have a problem anymore. I think they all have such open water experience.
Well, so it's funny you bring that up. So in 2014, they had they were having all those beach events. And in 2014, I was on the pier and I was watching them enter the water. And they did a bunch of thruster things or something on the beach, and then they had to go and swim around the pier.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And they ran up to the water, and then they stopped. And for me, in my background, it's like we would attack the water.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? And it was somewhat big. It was probably 3-foot waves, but they just sat there and they waited, and it's like, go! Like, it was so irritating. So part where I lose my cool is like when like that happens and you're just giving away time.
I know. I said that because I can't coach anyone or tell anyone what to do, but just the simplest, like to dolphin over the waves, and it gives you so much speed. You jump over the wave and grab the ball, push yourself up. And I'm watching that happen and thinking, did no one show them how to get out there quickly? Like, all you have to do is turn on a video and watch triathletes go into the water or any kind of open water swim. But
just duck beneath the waves to get past the first. Go.
But in fairness to them, what it was, again, was they were hypoxic going into the water.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
you have a panic feeling, but you're like, I'm going to get held under.
That's what it was. So they know how, like, to enter, because let's face it, and if they're training in the middle part of the country, they're doing lake swimming and pond swimming, and so it's easy to do that. But how do you judge the depth of the water when the waves are? It was fear again. That's when I came up with one of my better workouts. So I gave Mayhem a workout later that summer. It was called the Fear of Drowning. And what I did is I put him in a hypoxic condition before going into the water, and then gave him a 25-pound dumbbell and told him, okay, now you're going to actually have to swim with this thing across the pond. This is actually a funny story. So,
how did it work? Let's hear this. I'd like to hear it. I see it now.
I almost killed 2 kids that day.
I was just going to say, did you have your lifeguard? Were you carrying your torp?
I was so pissed that day. So Froning gives me just like, I really care for him. What I've learned from him and just the kindness from him, I on so many levels, I value having him in my life. And that day, he really, I almost left and stopped coaching him because I was so irritated by him. But the whole setup on this thing is that I come up with this concept so that they would be less intimidated entering the water in a hypoxic state. Well, so I came up with this concept of, we're going to carry this thing across the pond, this dumbbell. Fraser's looking at me. He's with me at the same time, and we're sitting at the edge of the pond. And we had these 10-pound plates for the people that didn't know how to swim, and they were going to take those across. Well, the ones that were decent, like Fraser and Froning, they would have to carry a 25-pound dumbbell. And I would tether it to their wrist so that we wouldn't lose the dumbbell. It would hit the bottom, but it would pull them under slightly to create a little fear.
This sounds terrible.
It was beautiful. And it was all scientifically done. I had Rich Sr., Rich's dad, helping me with the whole thing. So
he listens to the show all the time. He follows me on Instagram.
This was very precise.
Scientifically done. We're going to tie your wrist with weights on it.
This sounds like the worst idea ever.
It was totally calculated. He told me that he's all, you know what? I got it all figured out. So he had an old roll of seatbelt harness, and we fastened it around everyone's wrist. And so Fraser was like, I don't know about this. And I'm like, don't get soft on me. I'm telling you, I don't think it's possible to swim across the pond with a 25-pound dumbbell. Well, we're sitting on the edge of this pond, and I have my back to the water. We're just sitting there. And so I kind of scoot to the edge of the water, and I'm like, okay, so look, I'll show you how it's done. Give me the 25-pound dumbbell. And I never talk about myself ever with them. I just, I'm just a coach. I'm like, give me the thing. So I put the dumbbell on my chest. I push off the edge of the pond, and I swim backstroke.
Of course.
Now, my lungs are big. My lungs are 50% larger than average. And so what you do when you float is it's really just controlling the amount of air you exhale.
To make you more buoyant.
And you pivot around the 25-pound dumbbell. So I swam across the pond on my back.
Are you? What kind of kick are you doing?
I'm just swimming.
Kick
mostly
like
trying to balance this. No, I swim backstroke and balancing this thing.
Okay.
You couldn't tell whether or not I had anything on my chest or not. I was able to keep the whole thing floating. So Fraser, I come back in, and he's like, whoa. Like, he didn't think it was some kind of like magic trick or miracle. He was just like, I guess I can do it too. So he grabs the dumbbell. I'm like, hold on, let's do some baby steps first, Grit. Big boy, let's get the 10-pound plate. And he puts it up on his chest. He does the same thing. And he has it there. I get distracted, and I look over by Froning, and I had Nick Palladino and Angelo DiCicco, the 2 kids the teens that won the games. And I look back, and Fraser's not there. I'm like, where did he go? Like, I thought he went up to like the house or something, but there's no way he could cover that distance. And I look back and there's no like wake, there's no bubbles. And I'm like, where did Fraser go? And they're like, he's not here. I'm like, I was just talking to him. And they're like, no. Well, like 5 seconds later, Fraser pops up in the water.
Oh my God.
He rode the slope of the pond down and he was buried by a 10-pound plate. And he's like, bro, that's impossible. I still went ahead with the workout, though.
So wait, you said you almost stopped working with Froning.
Oh, he was so irritating.
Why?
Well, so he's always been so we always talk about in coaching world is like the compliant athlete, right? Mm-hmm. Are you coachable or not? Mm-hmm. And there is a lot of athletes that are at the games that are not coachable, and they're never going to win. They're just not. They believe that they know more, and they're not receptive. They don't listen. Mm-hmm. And part of it is that if you're always going to do what someone did last year, then how are you expecting to be any better? Mm-hmm. Fraser is one of the most coachable athletes. Froning, Jason Khalipa, these champions, Katrin, Camille is a really good example of being highly coachable, that what they're interested in is they want to know what you're doing. They want to understand it. They want to understand the purpose of it, but they're always going to show up and they're never going to question you. Mm-hmm. That's what makes them coachable. I mean, Fraser, I had him run 10 by 800 meters 3 weeks ago.
Was that the one where he said, make me a workout that'll scare me?
No, so that was 2 years ago. And now he's doing workouts that scare me. Like, I mean,
so how many 800s? 10?
10. So part of it is that...
Eddie's favorite, by the way.
What's that?
You're just scared.
It's the worst event, I think, in the world.
Well, so this is a marathon. This is Yasso's 800, right? So it's a marathon race predictor workout. So this guy, Bart Yasso, he came out with this workout, 10 by 800 meters, and what he said was, and it's a work to rest of 1-to-1. And he said that what you do is you take your average 800 meter time, and you then convert it to hours and minutes. So Fraser was targeting around 2 minutes and 50 seconds for his 800s, okay, which would be 2 hours and 50 minutes. You add roughly 5 minutes on top of it.
So that's what Fraser, you think, would do a marathon in? This is what it would?
He doesn't train in a volume, right? He would run into a muscular stamina failure, sure, but he definitely has the capacity. And that's what's cool is that Fraser is doing marathon training workouts, yet he wants to compete in the CrossFit Games. Mm-hmm. He's not interested in doing marathons. He's doing things at the highest level in each respective sport. Wow. And he understands the value of it. And you think you're going to beat a guy like that? That's where, so part
That's
of it...
That's a Prefontaine workout, by the way.
What, the 800s?
Yeah. Tell him about the Vortex that you went on.
We'll get to that, but it's been so much fun being here at the CrossFit Games. I was down in Vendor Village today and ran into one of our sponsors who I am becoming the biggest fan of. That's O2 Energy. It's not energy drink. It's a sports recovery drink. And it is amazing. I had Bobby drinking it. I had everybody drinking it. I can't say enough about this company. I hope that it blows up to being the biggest company in the sports world, because I'd like to see an end to all those crappy energy drinks and recovery drinks that aren't good for you. Because this one was created by a CrossFit trainer and a doctor, a real doctor, a medical doctor. And it's a revolutionary post-workout beverage. It's blending 7 times the oxygen of tap water. Do you know tap water had oxygen in it? H2O. This has more than that. Maybe, I don't know chemistry, but maybe it's H14O. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know the chemistry behind it, but all I know, it's got electrolytes, and those are so important. If you've heard me talk with like Dylan Farr or Stan Efferden, they talked about sodium, getting sodium in your body after a workout, before a workout. That's what's in here. It helps you recover faster. It helps you process toxins, and it's intentionally not carbonated. So it's so easy to drink. Why are you going to put carbonation in and make it really difficult to chug down after you've done a workout. It's good. It's really, really good. They got 4 flavors. All are non-GMO. And they have over twice the amount of electrolytes as Gatorade, but only 2 grams of sugar and 20 calories. How about that? So there's only 20 calories, 2 grams of sugar. For you people that are fasting, you're almost going to stay ketogenic and into your fasted state with that. You're the close. And it's a big can. So, hey, you might be able to have a little bit of this. 2 of them have caffeine. 2 of them don't. And I'm not a big caffeine guy. I'm getting a little bit more into it again. But, I don't support a lot of things. Well, this one I totally support. I stand behind. I love it. I think it tastes delicious. My daughter drinks it. She's 4.5. She loves it. And it's great because we don't ever drinking sugar. Here's a little fact about it too. I was explaining this to everybody. Everybody's like, how do you know so much about this drink? So getting everybody to drink it. It's got the same volume and electrolyte ratio, as an IV bag, like a 500 cc IV bag. And Bobby was like, didn't want to drink anything with caffeine. And I was like, Bobby, drink it. Because it's natural caffeine, which means it's absorbed into the body slower and it leaves the body slower. So you're not going to get those jitters and the crash that you get with regular energy drinks. So it's just awesome. It's great. It's got everything you need. Perfect for after a CrossFit workout. How about this? Go to drinko2.com. Drinko2.com. You're going to get all kinds of information on it. Use the code WODCAST. And you're going to get 20% off your first purchase. That's WODCAST, 20% off. They're also starting to get into a lot of stores. I'm hoping this is going to grow and be the biggest thing in the business. That's drinko2.com. Use WODCAST for 20% off. And you can follow them at Drinko2 Recovery on Instagram. I want to mention Dirty Birds again. A little more I want to get into with you is that Dirty Bird Energy Soap is the only thing I'm putting on my body now because I'm a hippie. I'm all about being natural. I don't want chemicals going in my body. I don't want sodium lauryl sulfate. I don't want any of that crap because studies have shown that your skin absorbs the majority of ingredients in your soap. How about that? Did you know that? Your pores? Did you know your skin's your biggest organ? Did you know that that stuff goes in through your pores into your body? Do you want that in your bloodstream? Huh? I don't think you do, especially if you're an athlete and you want to do everything you can to be the best you can be. Listen to me. What you put on your body is just as important as what you put in your body. So if you're all about health conscious, if you're health conscious and you're all about your eating, you should be all about what's going on in your body too, right? Okay. Well, let me tell you a little bit more about this soap. Sustainably sourced, all natural ingredients, and they've got a whole bunch of different ones. Okay, they got 4. Their original energy soap features peppermint oil paired with caffeine, and it includes exfoliating sunflower beads. I love that part of it. Feels a little scratchy. You feel like you're cleaning off all that dead skin, getting all that new skin ready, open up those pores, get that stuff in there. I said, by the way, did I mention it had caffeine in it? Yep. How cool is that? It's got caffeine in it. You coffee drinkers, who needs a cup of coffee when you just showered and put some caffeine in you? They got recovery soap that uses arnica, eucalyptus, and rosemary. I've read all kinds of stuff about arnica. I know about eucalyptus, and I just learned about rosemary. And you want that. That will definitely help you. And they've got a relax soap that features lavender and chamomile. No caffeine, no exfoliating. That's the one that's maybe when you're going to bed at night, you take some relax soap with the lavender and the chamomile, and you put it on and you lather it on your body, and then you go sleepy. And then they got a Replenish Soap, which is a record-breaking moisturizing soap. How about that? Did you ever hear of a record-breaking soap? It's got more than 30% moisturizing ingredients. It's unscented, no exfoliant. Every bar comes in reusable, watertight container that's perfect for traveling to the gym, to a race, on vacation. You got your case, you open it up, you got your toiletries, You throw your soap in there, bam, you're ready to go. And just check them out. Check out their reviews at dirtybirdenergy.com, and you'll see. You'll see everybody loves it. You're going to love it. You're going to save 20% off purchases of $20 or more with the code WODCAST at dirtybirdenergy.com. That's dirtybirdenergy.com. If you've never tried this soap before, you can get started for just $5. Go do it now. Thank me later. I also wanted to mention that I forgot, we are giving away to 2 guests a 4-pack of the Dirty Bird Energy soap. So I'm just going to go and give to 2 of our, if you donate in the Patreon, you donate any amount you donate, you can get yourself some Dirty Bird Energy soap. So Christina Lambert, how about that? Christina Lambert and Jacob Morgan. All you got to do, just email us at wadcastpodcast@yahoo.com. Send us your address, and we'll send out a 4-pack. You can try out Dirty Bird Energy soap. All you other people are going to have to buy it at dirtybirdenergy.com. Here I'm at the CrossFit Games. How did I find out about the CrossFit Games? Well, everybody knows about the CrossFit Games. But do you know about other events that are going on in CrossFit? No, you probably don't. And they're going on all the time. What about a road race? You want to run a road race? You know where the next one is? What about a yoga event? What about a meetup? Huh? Do you know where these things are? You don't know, and they're hard to find. Is there a place to go? Yeah, there's a place to go to find them all. It's called fitevents.com. It's called fitevents.com. You go to this place, and you're going to find every single thing you need to find a community of people doing all the same things that you like to do. And you want an endurance event, you want a race, you want some kind of challenge, you go there. It has the most functional fitness events listed in one place. I started playing on the website and got lost in it because I was like, it started to upset me a bit because I was like, geez, I need to do more competitions. Like, I don't get into competition, but when I was in Australia, I ran some 5Ks, and then I accidentally did a CrossFit competition, and I started to realize I kind of like this. So if you like that kind of stuff, you want to go do an OCR race, you want to go to a triathlon, you want to go to a running race, anything you want to go to. Like I said, yoga events, training courses, fitness retreats, vacations. You got to go to fitevents.com. It is by far the world's best fitness and endurance events all in one place. They have them all. Fitevents.com. But I'm just amazed by this, and also what you're saying, and it's with Fraser have won so many times, and this being people getting incrementally better. Because it's hard in this sport to jump.
You can't. That's why you can't get hurt.
Yeah.
Because the amount of improvement that is incurring every year, you're just going to fall behind. You cannot afford to get hurt, and you have to afford to take risk if you want to actually get ahead.
But that scares me that here's a guy who is training in multiple domains, and one of them being running, and he's putting in marathon work for just one domain that he's doing like a 10 by 800.
Well, that's why.
Wait, do you get the amount of rest? So his 256, does he get 256 off then?
250 and 250.
So 250. And
10 times.
And he did it.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's the thing. So part of it is that he...
Can you do it, Ed? That's the question.
Wait, I'll coach you tomorrow. I have actually a really fast stopwatch in my room.
I'll do 2 of them
tomorrow. I'll do 2. I'll give you 2 right now.
So you guys do relay style.
When we did indoor in track, and when 800,
his head's always stuck there. I could definitely do 2 of them. I could do them faster than that. After that, I'm done.
When we would do 800s, it was the big joke that you would lose me. So we had bleachers on both sides because it was the indoor facility, and it's where they played basketball. We had an indoor track, and I'd be good. When we worked out 200s, I was really good. 400s, you lost me a little. 800s, first time around, fine. Second time around, they're like, did he stop at the bleachers? Is he hiding under the bleachers right now? Because I would just come back so... I'm so... I tried to tell somebody once that I'm just fast twitch muscle fiber, and they're like, no, you're not. You just don't work hard enough. You just haven't put the conditioning in. And part of me believes
he doesn't have a base.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be
because I know that I am fast twitch. I ran a 10-500.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. Low 20s in the 2.
Yeah. How's your broad jump?
Bobby's talking 100 yards.
How's your broad
That's
jump?
how old he is.
Huh?
How's your broad jump? You have a good broad jump.
Broad jump was really good as well. We should when I was younger.
Put some tape out here and we'll see.
I'm an old
mine's
man.
terrible.
I'm an old man like you now, though. So
yeah.
And I did talk about getting hurt. I jumped off a climbing wall up in Ketchum from 30 feet to the cement, thinking I was tied in.
Yeah,
recently?
Yeah, in
how
September.
long? Yeah.
I could take a beat. I was a stuntman for 30 years, so impacts are pretty good, but that was bad. It displaced my heel.
You did break your calcaneus.
I had a hairline fracture in the
That's
calcaneus and displaced the heel. And I had blood and bruising in the bones all over, talus.
What hit the ground first?
Huh?
You landed on your feet?
Landed on my left foot and then slammed to my shoulder, hit my head, and bounced in the air and 5 feet in the air and landed back on my feet.
Dude, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thinking that I was tied in on a self-belay. I was like, oh, this is a good place to jump off. I'm going to jump off here. And I just jumped and kept falling. It was crazy. That's an injury.
That's the worst fear. So, like...
The fall.
Well, because it's like, you sure you got me?
Yeah, well, no, it's a self-belay. It's a ratchet.
Oh,
you clip in. So before I took off...
Right, so it like at hotels and
exactly.
Carnival cruise lines.
So I did 6 climbs, and I went to go clip in again. But before I did, I moved some ropes out of the way for the gentleman that was working there, so I could save time to get a couple more climbs in before they closed. It was just him and I there. By me clipping all the ropes, in my brain, I had clipped in again. So I scrambled to the top. I got to the top, and I saw where I put the ropes, and I was like, oh, that rope's going to be out of the way. I'm going to step to the left and then jump. And I stepped to the left and jumped and just kept falling. Please
tell me it happened at like some luxury hotel, and now you get 5-star treatment for free. Nothing?
I'm not that guy.
Nothing.
I asked the guy, you know what I said to the guy? I said, run and get tape quick. He went and got tape, taped it up. I said, I can't. I go, dude, I can't walk. Piggyback to the car. He was big. He was 6'4", 350 pounds. He gave me a piggyback out to the car, and that was it. And then I wouldn't go to the doctor because I hate the hospitals. I went to the veterinarian about 8 days later. He's like, put your paws on the table. He took some x-rays. He goes, your feet look identical. He's like, there's a small line in the calcaneus, though. And he was like, I can't tell what it is. You're going to have to go get an MRI. And I did. And they were like, wow, a lot of damage. Nothing broken. That's a hairline fracture. It was a rough one. But when you get hurt like that, it racks you up for a while.
I mean, that's the problem in getting old, right? Is that...
If I was 12, the orthopedic said it'd be the same injury.
No, but I'm talking about, like, if we get hurt being our age...
I'll fight you on this.
Well, I know. So that's why... So before the podcast...
You told me maybe 18 months? 9, I'm running barefoot.
Wow.
But I mean, I'm working on it every day.
Yeah, so part of it is that it's when I'm so nervous at my age of getting hurt... And it's about taking time off and losing my fitness. I know that the rate in which I lose my fitness is substantially faster.
The stratosphere. My chamber? Did you imagine how much faster you recover?
I just literally, so I finished like a 45-minute run, 2 hours ago. And
do you work out with the team?
So I ran with Haley Adams, so the team that we were talking about.
Are you not tapering them for?
Oh God, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
How far were you running? Was it like a,
So that's
pace?
Interesting is that most athletes, they also don't understand like a taper.
Yeah.
They don't even understand like what the purpose of that is and how to do it.
They're insane.
They know the word, right? But they don't understand what it really, like what's involved in it. And so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll attend these critical taper pieces, mainly so that they do it correctly. CrossFitters, the beauty of training a CrossFitter is that they love working hard. Mm-hmm. And it's not like...
I can't see Rich Froning tapering.
Well, that's the thing is like, bro, that's way too short. Like, I mean, why am I even getting dressed? Like, that seems like a total waste of time. And it's not, what he needs to understand is we need to maintain the frequency. We just need to scale back on your volume, hit all the touch points in terms of intensities, and take a decent amount of rest, and then call it. Rich really struggles. I gave him a workout the other day, and I'm like,
wait, I got to tell you this.
Yeah.
When he was on the show, he was telling me this story about how he takes Sundays off or something to be with the family.
Yeah.
And he's at some birthday party or something. And he goes, and the birthday party, whatever's happening, he goes, and I sneak downstairs, and he goes, and I do a workout. And you know how he knows every workout he's ever done. He's like, it was like 4 rounds of like squat cleans of this, and then burpees, and then double, whatever it was. He goes, and I go back upstairs, and I'm all sweaty. And he goes, my wife looks at me, and she goes, you were working out, weren't you? And he's like, it's like I was cheating on her. Like, I'm not supposed to, like, he can't.
He loves it, though, right? Like, when you talk to him, he told me, he's like, I think, like, he has an addiction. Yeah.
And that is where his addiction goes to, some people go to whatever else it is that they need. He needs to work out all the time.
And what's interesting about him is that
he's like a border collie.
But he also can cross over. So there's a lot of CrossFitters that they love CrossFit so that they can turn it off. Meaning the high intensity doesn't allow them to think. They just move hard, and so they could forget the world for a period of time. You take an endurance athlete, the endurance athlete is exactly opposite. They do it so they can sort out their problems. They can go inside themselves and think. It is very unusual to have a CrossFitter that crosses and does both, and Rich does both.
Wow.
He can turn it off, and he could sort out problems.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, so, but I think that, like, part of it, like, I think with him, he's never going to stop.
No.
Ever.
No.
Yeah, see, doing stunt work and the risk and high falls and all that stuff, you get to a relaxed state when you're in the middle of it.
Does it slow down?
Yeah, it's like a zony kind of place, right? Satori, you can call it a bunch of different things. But then when you're done, you're actually relaxed again. You feel like, well, you're much calmer than you usually are.
Is that so? I was called to go to Red Bull in the mothership in Austria, and it was the strangest meeting I've ever been in my life. And I was interested because of the amount of athletes that they have and the amount of data that they have. And the thing that was fascinating for me is, how do you train an athlete where death is their risk, right? In CrossFit, it's like, okay, so you underperformed. But in what a lot of these Red Bull athletes do is they're risking their lives, and stuntmen do the same thing. And I was always fascinated, how do you train knowing that that's the risk? And they told me, they're like, you know what? We're not sharing information like that. That's stuff for just us.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's you get in a pattern. Like, I free solo, right? I free soloed 1,000-foot faces, rock shoes and a bag of chalk, and nobody's there. You have to get in this, and I've also started out to do it and stopped.
But so, do you know, or is it trainable? Like, meaning
it's it's a repetitive action, and the same things over and over again. You have to have 3 points on the rock. You know where you are all the time, and you're just like in this place where everything is exactly the same over and over again. You never really get this adrenaline going, and you never really, you're not half asleep either. You're just in this perfect place, and everything just works. It just flows. It's like walking. It's as easy as walking.
So I can see that happening if it was. So, for example, like when I would run during the run at the Hawaiian Ironman, you would get kind of outside your body and watch yourself move, and it was kind of a cathartic space. It was peaceful,
right?
But I can that happen if it's something like on a motorcycle where you're jumping up Caesars?
This is
where it's fast.
If I'm driving, if I'm driving 120 miles an hour, which you're not supposed to be doing, if I'm doing that and I have a water bottle between my legs and it keeps falling, and I have to keep adjusting things and driving, that's where I'm most comfortable. If I'm just, I need a bunch of things going on, and I function really good from that place.
And your awareness of all of those various things in parallel of where they are, you can do that.
Yeah, and that's and that's how you feel when you're rock climbing. You're on the wall.
I just heard
because you don't know what's next.
So there's all these different scenarios, and you're aware of each piece at the same time.
And you're just in this place.
You're hyper focused. I agree with that. I think when you put somebody in that type of situation, it's. I agree with you.
But it's not just the one. I'm sorry to interrupt. But it's not just the one step in front of you. You're actually taking one step in front of you, but you're doing it in multiple scenes.
And you can fall.
Right.
But you don't think about the falling, ever. You just do not. You respect what it is that you're doing. But as soon as you start to think about, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, you go into this weird place.
So when Baumgarten, when he jumps from the, the
stratosphere,
right?
Yeah.
You don't think that he's ever thinking about the risk? You think that it's just he's following a methodical process and he's just following a checklist, and it's just like, and next thing you know, he's on the ground.
I think it differs because I've asked a lot of the big wave surfers, and some of them say, I don't think about it at all, and it's just I've built up to that I've done it. Like people say to me, I'm doing a project right now with a big wave surfer that he's going to do stand-up comedy, and I have to surf a big wave, and it's a fear thing where he talks more about doing stand-up, about being afraid, than I talk about and I'm terrified. I'm so afraid of what they're going to do to me. But he told me, he's like, I get scared just going in a grocery store. I want to shit my pants. He's like, I can't imagine being. He's like, my hands are sweating talking about it. But he has told me, and he's the one surfer that has told me about his fears of this wave scared me. I was scared then. I'll go, how long were you held down on that one? And he'll say, that was pretty bad, or I was so lucky I popped out the back of that one. He did all the stunts for the Point Break, the new one, and he said they took me into Chopu, and he goes, the director said
that opening part was so
the
good.
Director said, we need you to fall in the middle of Chopu.
No,
for the stunt.
Wow, hope we got paid well for that.
And no, but he told me, he said that's not that bad. He goes, the way Chopu works, the water curls under and pops you out the back of it.
But the lip is thick as...
Yeah, but he was inside the barrel, I think, where he fell. But he said, because he surfs Jaws all the time. His name's Albie Layer. And Albie
awesome.
said that was... but he says to me sometimes, I'm scared.
Is that the kid that was at Izzy's birthday party? The world...
No, that's Jamie Sterling, who's been on the show. So you might know Jamie from the North Shore. Jamie... is the calmest, coolest, most collected guy. He was 2013 big wave champ of the world, I believe. I'll go, is that scary? And he'll be like, no. And I'm like, but...
Yeah, you got to see how calm he is and when he talks about it.
So calm.
Yeah.
And so just like... And it's the same way if you said to me, were you scared doing stand-up? Sure. When I started 25 years ago, for about 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years, there were scary experiences. You couldn't give me a scary experience. If you said to me, go perform for this prison, go perform for this biker gang, go perform for... I can't be scared. It's gone.
Yeah.
There's no fear because I know that I have the tools at any time to maneuver myself out of a situation.
Whatever that is. Yeah.
Whatever it is. So I think...
So it's the same thing when you climb all the time.
You're a master of your craft.
Yeah, it started 30 years ago.
I mean, that's one of the things that, that's really interesting because for me, I love interacting with masters of the craft, right? They're so in tune with what they've created that's where you can actually learn. You dive deep into these details and they're so confident, and even if they don't know, that confidence will come out and say, you know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where someone that doesn't, they're just going to bullshit their way through it.
Wow.
And I love the master of the craft no matter what it is. And that's why older people to me are fascinating. If they have specialized into a space, I want to talk to you. I love the minutia, right? I like to dive deep into the detail and try and like when I was in North Shore.
I do too. In fact, I would like to talk to you for about 16 hours. I have so many aerobic questions for you that I don't want to even...
Let's go to the track
that
tomorrow.
I don't even want to ask now because I don't want people going, that's a dumb question. But I'm like, I need to ask it. I have so many. Like, we talk about this stuff all day.
Do you?
Yeah. I just like to test my body and see what I'm capable of or why I'm not capable of this anymore or what's happening to me. And I always want to put a science to it. I always want to know why isn't that happening?
I think that's what should... So part of it is that we should be able to, as coaches, articulate something, whatever it happens to be that the athlete is interested in, and do it in a way that's scientific, but it's also something that they could understand. The beauty of the human body is that it's somewhat logical. And so you, yes, can apply a foundation of science, but also an athlete should be able to wrap their head around it. And, a simple example of that is take, the assault bike. So a couple of years ago, Fraser asked me, he's all, so I want you to, help me win on the assault bike, not get more fit. He wants to win. And so I explained to him what the assault bike does. And it's really a fatigue generating piece of equipment, right? You're moving your arms at the same time as your legs are moving. And if you move your arms fast enough and long enough, you're going to create lactic acid, right? Lactate and these fatigue causing properties. That lactate's going to fill up in your muscles that are moving. It's going to spill into the space in between muscles, into the neighboring muscle group, and eventually go into the bloodstream, right? Lactate shuttle. Mm-hmm. And it's just trying to find vacant muscle groups to clear it. Well, the legs are doing the same thing.
So there's nowhere to clear.
So you can imagine at Iowa, Dan Gable is my coach, right?
Okay.
So you know who he is, right? Yeah. 6 hours a day of training plus a sauna, right? That was normal. And
for a wrestler.
Yeah. And the assault bike was like, there's 10 of them there. That's what you get on in between doing round robins and wrestling, get on the assault bike.
But I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of muscle groups. Like, you go to the games here, you watch after an event, every athlete gets on the assault bike, and what they do is they warm down after their event to try and flush as much blood lactate out.
Eddie and I were neighbors for 6 years, so I created a backyard that had...
You should have seen this place.
We had sand pits. I had an Olympic wrestling mat. We had slack lines at 15 feet off the ground on the oak trees.
15 feet?
15 feet, yeah. And you were tethered. You had a 3-foot high one, high bar, parallel bars. You had gymnastic
Chris,
buckets.
It was the best
you had a
man
indoor
cave
outdoor
in the world.
That is
kettlebells. Squat racks, trampoline. We had hatchet throwing. We had bow and arrow. People would come over and go, "Is this a park?"
Who are you?
No. Yeah, this is what we had. Eddie would come by.
When was this?
Crazy Bobby.
It was in a place called Montanito, which he still lives at.
It's right in the mountains of Malibu.
Dude, that's...
I mean, you got to see this place.
Ice bath,
TP for
pools.
You could see my eyes are even watering.
I had a buddy send me his old ice machine from his restaurant, so we were doing cold plunges, and I could turn the swimming pool up to 90. We'd flip flop from the 45 to the 90. Nothing feels better than falling into 90-degree water when you're frozen. It feels amazing. And flip flop. I mean, this is what we did.
Everything.
He brought Hunter McIntyre over, who was in the game.
Yeah, do you know that he came out and visited for a week?
Yeah.
No, I helped him, and I'm a huge fan. I like his whole style.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully he's calmed down in this week. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's what we're saying to him now. He didn't know I was coming today. He came to the house, and Eddie's like, "All right, get on the mat with Bob." I broke his nose.
They wrestled,
and he let me fix his nose after I broke it.
Oh, so it's a funny story. I've told it on the show before.
That's great.
But what happened was, in fact, it's on the best of episode that's up right now. So I'm repeating something that you heard last week, but I'm doing it for your sake. I told Hunter all about Bobby. I said, I have this friend. He's crazy, and he's got the gym that we all wish we had. Like, you're going to go into his backyard, and you're going to feel like you're in heaven. It's got everything you've ever wanted. He's got 200-pound kettlebells. He's got, you name it, it's there.
Dude, awesome.
And so I take Hunter over, and I said, Bobby's older than you. I said, but he's a strong motherfucker, and I said he can climb like no one you've seen. He can do all these things.
I forgot about the climbing. I had climbing walls and climbing ladders in the yard that went up in the oak trees 40 feet.
So I take the
and ropes.
I take the two biggest alpha males I know, and I introduce them to each other. And it's like when you get to the dog park, and there's two dogs that still have their pit bulls with nuts on them. Like neither one has been castrated, and they see each other. They don't even talk. They just both take their shirts off and go to the wrestling mat. And Bobby looks at Hunter and goes, "You want to roll?" And Hunter's like, "Of course I do." And they just start wrestling. I'm like, what is this? What did I just get myself involved in? And they start wrestling, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, wow, Hunter's doing better than I thought.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't warm up. This is what we did.
Does he weigh more than you?
We weigh the same.
Oh, okay.
Well, right now he's probably got me by 3 or 4 pounds.
Okay.
But he usually walks around 198. I'm like 198 to 204. So we get on the mat, and this is what you do. I've been doing it since I was 5. You go about 3/4 speed, half speed, maybe even less than that in the beginning. I let you take me down.
Yeah.
And then you let me up, and then I take you down.
Yeah.
And you just go back and forth. I let him take me down like it was an easy takedown. I go to get up, and he won't let me up. And I'm like, he's staying on top, and he's working me on top. And I'm like, I'm going to have to get out.
Right.
Because obviously he doesn't understand the rules, and we're not warmed up yet. And so when I finally reversed him, I would not get off. And I was riding him with legs and cross-face, and I was being aggressive and really hard with him. And I heard him start breathing. I was tying him up.
That's
really
awesome.
Good. Yeah. And then finally, he's really struggling hard, and he's trying to stop me from constantly going over his face with my forearm. He's pushing on my hand as hard as he can, and his hand slips, and my forearm goes across his nose. You heard crack. And he goes, all right, stop. And he turns around and looks at me. He's got blood coming out of his nose. He goes, is my nose crooked? And his eyes are watering. I go, a little bit. I go, do you always have a bump on the side? He goes, no. He goes, can you push it back? And I pushed it back. And he continued to wrestle after you heard a crack, and he continued to go.
That's rad.
That's Hunter.
That's so he was a shit. So I was with him for a week, and I really admire him. Let's face it. He's a multi-world champion. Mm-hmm. You got to respect that. Mm-hmm. And the fact is that he is a strong supporter of CrossFit, and he believes that Spartan racers should be doing CrossFit to help them perform better in obstacle course racing.
He's proof of that.
Right. And if you look at that, what an incredible opportunity that you have a 6-time world champion that is really leading the charge. So he's reached out a couple of times, and we finally were able to sync up, and I invited him out to Power Monkey for a week, and he co-coached with me out there. So at Power Monkey, I run the endurance station, and we have 12 air runners. And essentially at Power Monkey, you do 2-hour blocks of time, and then the groups rotate. So there's 9 groups that rotate through. And another co-coach of mine was doing part of the lecture to the group, and Hunter was sitting in the back, and he was kind of like Hunter, not paying attention. And so I said to him, I go, you should be paying attention because you're going to have to lead this at some point. I already know all this stuff. I don't even need to be here. I got it. I'm like, okay. So when an athlete does that, and that's the thing, is that you would never, ever do that to me, because I'm going to remember, and I'm going to make sure that you eat that, because this is a learning lesson for you. So Hunter doesn't even know this story. He doesn't even know this story. So he's sitting there, and he hasn't done one bit of coaching at all. Like, he's just sitting in the back, and what part of it is that he's sitting there, and he's talking about, like he's visiting with Dave Durrani, and Chad Vaughn, and he's with these Olympian weightlifters and gymnasts, and he's learning all kinds of things, which is why he was really there. But he also had to do some work. So I go to all these other coaches, and there's many Olympians that attend Power Monkey Camp, and I go, so this is what Hunter just said, and I'm going to put him up with no warning. The other co-coach is going to have an emergency, and I go, you're in, and he's going to have no notice. And I told all the coaches, I go, I want you to come over there, and I want you to watch him. And then we had 3 photographers shooting content, and I go, I need you all there, and this is what's going on. So
this is awesome.
We have about 5 minutes before the next group comes through. The other co-coach, he all of a sudden, he's like, I got to go, Chris. He says, I got to make a call, and I'm sorry, I got to go. And I'm all, Hunter, you got to come over here. I go, Facundo's got an emergency, and I go, you got to fill in on this whole thing, and you're on. And the group is there. And he's like, wait, what? He doesn't even have, he walks around with no shirt on the whole time. I'm like, dude, get your clothes on and get in front of the group, and you're going to lead the whole first lecture. And he's like, bro. And he comes up, and all the coaches are lined up there, and he's like, Now, in fairness to him, and I don't want to blast him too bad, he did okay for not paying attention for the first 2 days of camp. But it was a life lesson for him. That is for sure.
What did he say to you when he was done? Did he thank you? Did he say, hey?
No. Hunter doesn't do that. So Hunter's like the humble side of him, where he knew I threw him under the bus in a massive way. He would never acknowledge that. Like, that's where his pride comes in. That's why I was saying about this week. It's like, have a little respect. Part of it is that it's cool to have an angle to get in.
Yeah.
And I was in all support, right, of him, right? He came and hung out, and, the whole thing that he did with Fit Aid. I think that he did that perfectly. And I also believe that Hunter can create a huge influx of athletes coming into the sport of CrossFit.
Absolutely.
And I think that if he tones it down, he can actually take that iconic brand that's in obstacle course racing and transcend into something else. I do. And part of it is like, you know what? No one knows everything. No one does. Be receptive to what someone else is saying and recognize your strengths and weaknesses. Own them.
I've watched him and the way he coach hops.
Yeah.
And he likes a lot of coaches. And I asked him once, I said, have you ever thought about just putting your trust in one guy and going with it? And he was like, yeah, but I also put my trust in a lot of guys. And he's like, I think they all have information I can get. And so he's always seeking out, which I had Ryan Flaherty on the show, who's the head of Nike training. And Ryan said, one thing I found from the best people in the world is that they constantly want to learn.
Yeah.
They want to know all, like, what's the best for this and what's the best for that and how do I do this? And I watch Kelly Slater a lot, who's the best surfer in the world. Kelly's always taking Wim Hof courses or going to this course or learning how to do jiu-jitsu or learning things that can add to his surfing to make him a better surfer. And I see Hunter doing that constantly with testing and trying to get better at this. And I mean, the way he's attacked CrossFit in this last year has been pretty phenomenal.
His success comes from execution, for sure.
But
he's always doing something. He's always trying to do something. But he does get that cocky attitude quite a bit. And that's also part of his drive. And
that's when you just break his nose like Bobby does.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and that's why I did what I did. But I think
they broke him at Kokoro.
I think, though, his hopping
what
around.
What happened at the coil?
What
happened?
Oh, he got broken at Kokoro.
Oh, yeah?
And he had to go back. He went back a second time because they broke him the first time. He told the story on our podcast. He got broken. They put him in his place, and because no matter when you go to that like Navy SEAL camp, it's not about how good of an athlete you are. Right. It's about they're going to find your threshold.
Oh yeah,
they're going to go past it.
Well,
he said he was crying.
Yeah. Well,
I remember. That was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
He did a workout with Tia and Fraser when he was out with me, and it was a 5-round workout, and Fraser was done before Hunter got into his 3rd round, and then Hunter somehow shaved a whole round off and finished, and still was way, way, way behind both of them. I mean, he got throttled. And so that's the thing is, like, I know in his own mind he realizes where he is. The problem is that he is not with anybody recognizing that he just got hammered. And athletes need to be recognizing their strengths and weaknesses. They need to own those weaknesses so that they can actually target them.
Sure.
And one of the things that
I think he might give that presentation.
But he's always hopping around. And the mistake is that if you are always hopping around, then you know what's going to happen is, how is the next new coach going to actually be able to dive deep into the details?
Yeah, he's
they're only going to give you... The reason why in the start of this podcast you said, like, you coach a lot of people, I actually scaled, like I said, way down, because the level of precision required for the Frasers, the Fronings, the Catrins is so narrow because of their greatness. And if a new coach takes over on Fraser, he's going to have to start over from scratch. And what's he going to start with? Generic programming, safe programming. You know what, Matt? I'll tell you what, you're going to do this workout, and what I want you to do is, instead of normally jogging in between at a 7:35-mile pace, what I want you to do is you're going to walk 200 meters. And he's going to throw in a filler because he doesn't know. The coach doesn't know. He's not going to be precise on the volume, right? The distance that you go, the intensity that he's doing that interval, right? Whether it's your speed or your load, and the type of recovery you're doing, whether it's passive or active. If Hunter stuck around, that coach would be able to add a level of precision that would far exceed what he would get from any brand new coach. You can't do it.
It's not like the early days of CrossFit when you're Rich Froning and you come in after 9 months of CrossFitting and win the games. That's not possible any longer.
That's 2013. I mean, the whole concept, that's where I sit and I gave Hunter, and I told him, I said, Hunter, I know you're a fast runner. I got it. But what's your running program? Well, I mean, I need to do like 20, 30 miles a week. And I'm like, okay, so first of all, why? Well, because that's where I'm going to dominate. Okay, are you going there just to dominate what you're good at already? Because you don't have to do any more running. You're still going to dominate, right? The fastest miler there is maybe 4:55.
Who would that be?
There's a slew of people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that for the men, it's 5 minutes, 5:05. For the women, 5:20.
Still pretty good.
It's awesome.
So what you're saying is a lot like all relationships. Somebody asked me a question once, like, where do you grow the most? 20 girlfriends over 20 years.
Yeah.
Each girl from a different country. Learn a language, learn all the stuff, learn the country. Or one girl for 20 years.
I really like you. I really do.
So it's...
Can I finish your sentence?
Obviously, it's the 20 years, right? Because you got to dive deep to stay in this 20-year relationship with the one girl. You got to figure out so many things about yourself, because the other stuff, you're just superficially getting there. You're not letting anybody in.
And that's where the juice is.
So your coaching of getting in that deep, if you could get in that deep with Hunter, he would accelerate in many areas that he didn't even know he had.
And that takes maturity.
It does.
But it also might be...
to recognize that. Like everybody's always better in their second go-around, right? Because they figure out and they own their mistakes, and it's like, you know what? I need to value those things, right? The flavor's a little different, but the truth is that it's richer, it's deeper, it's more colorful.
Right.
But you got to have some maturity.
Speaking of which, we're getting text from him. He wants to come up.
Is he down there?
From who?
He wants to go to dinner. I said, come up.
Yeah, I would love to see him.
I got a couple questions for you.
Yes.
So, first of all, your prediction on the first event that's going to cut 50% of the field.
So I think the number one workout.
When this comes out, though, it'll already have happened. Probably, maybe not. I might put this out middle of the week, so I'll probably put this out early.
Make sure you tell them the vortex.
Okay, so let's say
I got to check out. I'm definitely coming to Arizona. Yeah. And we should hang out for a little bit too.
100%
finish each other's finish each other's sentences.
I can't wait for you to meet Dr. Bruce Johnson. He's the head of the Extreme Human Performance Lab. Boy, do we have stuff that's going to come out. I mean, amazing stuff.
So that's
to help
the thing
athletes.
for me as a coach, and the things that I work. I'm really interested in general population. I went to Adidas once, and I sat down with the head of running, and it was an incredible conversation that we had. And the guy's all, we don't do. Just so you know, CrossFit, I mean, that's the whole thing with Reebok. And I'm like, no, I just am curious on, what's your strategy? As an organization, what are you targeting in terms of coaching? I just want to know. Same thing when I went out and visited Red Bull. I just want to know. I mean, if you're sitting in these meetings, what is it that Adidas is doing? What's Red Bull doing? And he says, well, the thing is that we're interested in people that can, world champions, gold medalists. And he says, you're, in the CrossFit space, so it's just, you're recreational runners. And I said, but have you ever thought about what really CrossFit and this space represents, this general enthusiast? They run for fun. CrossFitters are runners that they run for fun. And I said, that's 99.9% of the population out there. Very few are world champions or Olympians or even have that genetic ability. And I was just thinking that it would be interesting, I would think, to have someone who knows that space. And it's you know what? That's actually really interesting. That's a really interesting piece. And you know what? That's cool. And we had an amazing conversation after that. Part is just recognizing what the CrossFit community is all about. It's a bunch of general enthusiasts, but it's 99.9% of the population out there. And so for me, if I can find pieces of information that helps that population, that gives me a charge. I like that a lot. And so the things that you're doing, if I can fill in some of the missing pieces of knowledge, which there's many that I have missing, that's what I'm all about.
How many years ago was that second place in?
1985.
What year?
85.
I'm almost 100%. I'm thinking I have I got almost a photographic memory. I could see you in that race. I could see the two of you. I remember watching that. I think it might have been on Wild World of Sports.
Yeah.
I remember watching that. You're
not the guy at the finish line that collapsed. And was that a woman? A woman, yeah. I did that in the New York City Marathon. I completely bonked out like that.
Good for you.
Completely bonked out. And I don't know if it was an electrolyte imbalance or I just went too hard, too fast. But I had police going.
I think it'd be the latter.
Police going, get off the course.
Did you go to the bathroom in your pants?
Did not shit my pants. Kind of wish I had, because at least then I would have a better story.
It's all about the story.
It's all about the story. I ran a much faster than I had ever run, and I was looking at my pace, and I'm like, I'm going to qualify for Boston. I'm killing this thing. I'm amazing. And then I got to the Brooklyn Bridge where you go, or the 59th Street Bridge where you run over, and I was like, how am I going to get up there? And I was like, that's a hill. And then I started running up the hill, and I was like, I'm dying. And I ran a great first half, but then when even coming down the bridge, I was like, I can't quit. I'll get into the city. I'll be okay. And I just started, every part of my body started cramping. When you were talking about Fraser cramping in the water, that's what I realized. I said, I bonked like that. And if I was in the water, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't unravel. It was like they were all, and I kind of walked a little bit, and I was like, oh my God, people are like looking at me like, what happened to this guy? And I knew I had drank too much water in the beginning before the race.
Why don't you back up and talk about the night before?
Oh,
I drank like 20 glasses of water. I thought I really needed to hydrate, and then I knew I fucked up.
Didn't you have alcohol before?
No, that was the other. I ran a marathon drunk, but
did you have a good?
I ran 3:47. It was the fastest marathon I've ever run.
Oh, drunk,
so shit-faced drunk.
Shit-faced.
Shit-faced.
So my best swimming event was back in my collegiate days. I was so hung. My coach wakes me up 2 minutes before I have to swim. And I don't even know how it happened. So it's funny that you say that. It's like, I wonder if that's the secret, like just competing hammered.
I met an iron woman who used to do 2 beers before every race.
You're just out of your mind. You didn't realize what was going on. That's what I think. That's why you ran so well.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but I bonked out. That was the story. And luckily someone gave me one of those rollers, and I started rolling out my quads.
Yeah.
And while I was standing there, and then I chugged down all the electrolyte drinks that I could get in me, and started walk running, and finished the marathon. Yeah. And I had a decent time for like a guy that's not a runner, like a distance runner, but decent, 4 hours or something. But it was, it was like, did I just push too hard? It's one of those things where I don't know enough. And I don't have enough data, and I don't have enough. Yeah. I don't keep a plan, and I did train for it correctly. So I was like, why did this happen?
See, I think that you're like the ideal athlete, right? So you've got some experience, you had some bad experiences, and now you have questions. And so now you're receptive. And I always tell people that, so I've had a lot of success with athletes that have won at the CrossFit Games. Those aren't my wins, though. The number one thing I tell people is it's about retention. If I can get you to want to come back and see me as a coach tomorrow, then I've done good. And what I always recognize, the commonality between the athletes that want to come back is they want to learn. They're always, like you said, like Kelly Slater, this quest of learning. They want to learn because that's where their source of confidence is coming from. If you're not learning, then where's your next layer of confidence going to come? Yeah. You're going to stagnate.
Right.
And eventually you're going to get beat. And now what's going to happen? You're going to spiral and auger into the earth. You have to constantly be actually building confidence no matter who it is. But if they don't take the ownership, they're a lost cause. They're lost.
When you say that, I always heard this about like someone with a job. It's the guy that everybody does the hard work, and it's the guy that goes the extra yard and does the extra thing. So you can work out in the gym so much. Where are you getting your other advantage? How are you getting that? And I wanted to ask you though, your prediction on the
so if they're going to do a massive elimination, part of it is that they've had great reductions in staffing, and part is that it's the number of volunteers. Now I know that they've reached out to a lot of officials to come back, but they're also greatly reducing the number of people day after day after day.
Right.
Part of it is that maybe it's from a staffing issue. And so they're going to have to do an event that's basically a mass event like you would normally see in a run, a triathlon, an obstacle course race, where they can actually go and release everybody at once. And you know what? You got a timing chip. Top 75 make it.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
That's the only way.
Do you think there's a chance they'll do what they've done before, which is a surprise Wednesday event?
I don't think so. Not just because they haven't had the amount of preparation time. Yeah. I think that there's been so many changes at HQ that flexibility is not an option.
Right.
I think that their model has changed. right? That I think that they're operating it like a business, that they're looking at the bottom line. And to throw in an extra day, is it really worth it when you can accomplish the same thing with 4 days? And if you're a business owner, you'd be looking at it and ask that question: can you pull this off with one less day? And tell me why not.
Yeah, exactly.
And so why not save the money?
Yep.
Because it's clear they're trying to save the money. So I think,
Absolutely.
you know what? It's a 5K.
And you're spending time with all these great athletes, top athletes. Do they sit around and talk about that? Do they go, what do you think it's going to be?
No, I'll tell you. So Fraser.
Wait. On the 5K, Hunter runs what? 16.
What do you run a 5K, Hunter? Hunter just showed up, by the way.
I'm impressed that actually he's kept quiet.
I know. It's the quietest he's ever been.
Are you running a 16? Are you running a 16 flat? What do you got?
Making a cup of coffee with so much honey last time I saw her, I had to give her the warmest cup. She's such a sweetheart. Right now, I'd probably run like a 16:30.
So the thing is that I think that it would also be combined with some kind of
weightlifting.
God.
Yeah, I think it's.
We could all.
That's what we're doing.
They have to combine something to balance out, and they could easily move you into some kind of a ladder.
Yeah,
and just cycle
that's what
people
I said.
through.
That's what I said.
And that's the two events, and then they're shaving people right then.
That's what I think it is. I think you're exactly right. I think because I thought a ladder, and you're making sense of it. The run, because that then differentiates where everybody's coming in. But here's your problem with that then. At the ladder, who gets to go first if two guys come to it at the same time? Do you know what I mean? Like if they set up all the bars and they've got them in succession.
But they could do that based upon the ranking in the open easily.
No, I'm saying so they finish the run.
Oh, no. I'm saying it's two separate events.
Oh, okay. Then that makes sense.
Yeah. So
that makes total sense.
Right. And so the 5K being the number one workout on .com, I see that. Now, what's throwing that for a loop is that they just pulled the permit
for the swim on Sunday. Yep.
Which means that maybe they're going to start with the swim and then run back to the stadium. Okay.
They're going to dinner.
Okay.
Yeah. Upstairs.
So part of it is that you would end up starting maybe in the water and then running back. And I know that one of the number one feedback workouts of all time was the burden run from 2014 when Kalipa, like in the Olympics, comes into the stadium right at the end of the burden run and pushes the sled across the field. The place exploded. It was electrifying to have that, and they repeated that with Murph. And part is to have that where the swim is televised on the monitor. You see people coming, and then boom, right, and they do something.
Talk about the vortex. Last
Bobby
time
loves it. This workout, I've read about it many times. I've tried to do it. It's horrendous. It's a mile and a half.
Yeah.
Every minute. It's an EMOM kind of every minute on the minute, but every other minute on the minute. So, first minute, continuous clock. First minute, you do 20 squats. Mm-hmm. Second minute, 10 push-ups. Mm-hmm. So 20, 10, 20, 10, 20, 10 till you finish the mile and a half. What happens is you start your squats and your push-ups start taking longer and longer and longer. You have less time to run distance to the point where you might get caught in the vortex.
Right, where you never finish.
Yes.
Right.
So I've done it as a mile. I've never done it as a mile and a half. I don't think I could finish it in a mile and a half.
That's a good workout.
There's probably some guys out there that can easily do it. He's probably one of them. But the getting down on the ground, doing 10 push-ups, getting back up, running again, because you think, oh, I've got all this time. And after the squats and then the run, getting back down on the ground, getting back up, because there's a burpee there.
Yeah.
Basically, you're doing one burpee too because you're cutting down to the ground.
The key is the number of judges.
Yeah, true. That's why. But I'm just saying this would be a great workout.
That would be a good one.
I think it's a really good test of fitness.
Yeah, totally is. And part of it is like I think that fitness, we need to be throwing in the strategic side.
Sure.
Right, where you're having to think. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one of the things that as a coach that I really try and drive home in parallel, right? So we're trying to develop multiple adaptations in parallel, whether it's teaching you how to pace, how to breathe. We're also teaching tactics, right?
Sure.
We're teaching, and part is like, in my world, I could feel when the clouds come over. I can feel a shift in temperature, right? I know that level of sensitivity. Do these? No, they don't. But you know what? They'll get there.
That's what I always loved about my coaches. When, one of the things that you put your trust in them, and you get to meet and they say, hey, it's wind aided, so they're going to turn the track this way, so you're going to want to be in this lane now. So we're going to hope for this, and we're going to get this. Oh, you know what? You're not going to wear these spikes today because this track is a hot track. And all these things that your coach can tell you that you just go, I trust this guy. He knows better than I do. So I'm going to put all my faith in this guy. Yeah. And it's just great,
Which is incredible value, right? Because now it's like takes this uncertainty away and there's less panic.
When I got to college, my track coach said to me, you're a right leg lead leg as a hurdler. And he said, we're going to switch you to left leg. And I just did 4 years of running hurdles every day with my right leg. And you want to switch me. It's like being ambidextrous. Yeah. Why would you do that? And he said, because we run the hurdles counterclockwise. You have a advantage. You have a mechanical advantage by being left leg. It gets down faster to the track running that turn. Mm-hmm. So you want that left leg coming down first. And I went, but it's going to take me so long, and I'm going to go backwards so far. He goes, where do you ultimately want to be? Are you willing to start losing for a while to eventually be the best that you can be? And that's a really hard thing to do to an athlete.
That's really interesting in that, because you did that voluntarily. Like you talked to Froning. Froning, when he played baseball, he had shoulder surgery and he couldn't throw with that other, and he had to learn how to throw with his left arm, and he became equally as good.
That guy's a freak.
But he did it not that same way. He did it. He had no other choice. Yeah. If he wanted to play, that's what his only option was. That's kind of wild, right? That you wonder, would you have had the same approach if that was your only option?
Yeah, it's a tough thing. And it's a lot of CrossFit. It's kind of funny for the evolution of CrossFit, where a lot of people can go out there and do well, but it's like, do you want to go back and learn? We've been talking all about developing an aerobic capacity. And to develop it, you've got to slow down. You've got to go out, put the mileage in, and slow down. You're like, but I like going fast, and no. You got to calm down, relax, and build that aerobic capacity by actually slowing down.
I think that's also in the sport now. Like, I think that a lot of these athletes and the work that they're doing is changing the behavior of the people that are now within the gym. It's people love the sexy stuff. People love barbell work. They love that short time domains. But it's starting to waterfall into the general population in the gym of the value of doing longer time domains, of slowing down. And owners are now recognizing, of affiliates. Mm-hmm. You can't just keep telling an athlete. I mean, could you imagine if you come to your track workout back in the day, and it's like, okay, so our workout today, we're going to do a mile for time. Next day. Today it's 1.5 miles. Today it's 800 for time. It's a 5K for time. Imagine doing a maximal effort.
Brutal.
You would never. I was like, this isn't the sport.
Yeah, I'd quit.
Right. You cannot do that.
No. And
it's
that's
not
what
sustainable.
Was going on for a long time in this.
Right. Why not? Let's slow things down a little bit.
Yep.
Let's give these guys a break. Instead, what's funny is, like, I was telling somebody, it's like, how do you suppose, and it was just something to think about. How do you suppose a basketball player makes a shot from 6 feet away and then can make a 3-pointer, a 6-foot shot at the opening minute, and then can make a 3-pointer at the buzzer? How do you think that they do that? Well, they throw baskets at various levels of intensity. Okay, but if you're always doing a 20-pound wall ball fresh, then what are you good at? Yeah, I'm good at a 20-pound wall ball fresh. Okay, so what if I give you 50 ring dips before that 20-pound wall ball shot? How heavy is that ball going to feel? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to feel like 50 pounds. So maybe you should be training a variety of intensities, some high intensity, but also some low intensities. Some to a 50-pound ball to maybe a wall ball touch. Sometimes maybe a 6-pound ball to a 15 or a 16-foot target. Could you, if I put labels and covered up, with tape so you couldn't see the wall ball weight, could you pick it up and actually know by feel what it weighs? Well, the elite can.
It's so interesting you say that, because as a joke, I did a couple of the workouts as I was a 60 plus woman, whatever it's like scaled it to their weights. And I went and did it, and everybody's like, yo, you'll kill this, like I'm not a good athlete in CrossFit, but I'm doing this light weight, doing thrusters or whatever it was. It was brutal.
Yep.
Because it's a completely different workout.
Yep.
Because I'm now competing with these women that aren't lifting as much weight, but can go much faster because it's comparable to them to do that kind of weight. So for me, my body's moving in like people go, wasn't that so easy? I go, no, I think I would have rather had like 135 pounds on the bar than the 75 that I had on there.
Right.
Because I'm now flying and going into exhaustion much quicker.
Yeah. Well, I had Laura Horvath, who got second place at the games last year. She was at my house, and I said, hey, Laura, how good of a walker are you? It's one of those that starts the conversation. And she's like, what do you have in mind? I'm like, well, I would like you to get on, my air runner. And if you're a good walker, I'd like you to hold 11 kilometers an hour, which isn't very fast, for 2 minutes.
What is that miles per hour?
It's like 7.
Okay.
So it's not fast. And so she's like, she's as cool as great person, incredible. She's like, all right.
That's a fast walk though, right?
It's a fast walk. But if you've never really walked fast, and this is the point that what you were saying is, if you've never trained walking fast, then what makes you think you're going to be good at it? Even though it's slow, you've never done it. So she hops on, and you know what? She made it 2 minutes, but it destroyed her. It destroyed her. And the thing was, so it's only 11 kilometers an hour. Yeah. Well, she can jog that.
Yeah.
It's an easy speed. But you know what? If you've never walked fast, then what makes you think you're good at it?
Wow.
You have to practice the movement, and you have to practice the intensity of that movement if you want to be good at it. That's what makes this sport so tough, is that we don't know what the time domains are. We don't know what intensity.
What was your idea? You had an idea for the first workout. I heard you saying get them all to run.
Oh, what I wanted to do. So what I wanted to do.
What?
I can't say anything. I give a lot of advice and sometimes events around the world in terms of workouts.
So
this may show up in a workout around the world. But
so I should not.
No. It's because you don't know which event it's going to be. So the concept is that what I love about what was at the games last year was it was a show for the person in the stands.
Yeah,
it was so entertaining, and to watch it on TV, I didn't need to even know anything about the sport. You could watch it and be thrilled, and I thought that's cool. And one of the things that I find valuable is like in auto racing, they have the board and you can see the car and where it is. It's very visual. So when you're looking on the track, it all looks the same. But what if they had a board and what you saw was your number of the person on the board and the name, and the person behind you can see exactly where everybody was. So what I wanted to do is put all 40 athletes onto like an oval track, and they would run 200 meters all together as a group. And then what would happen is that every 200 meters after that, they would all be wearing, like chip, and the person in last place would get pulled. And so the only rule is that you were not allowed to lap the field, meaning everybody had to stay on the same lap so that the fans knew what was going on. The problem in auto racing is that you start lapping the field.
It's almost like a peloton.
Exactly. Same thing. So the whole concept came from bike racing on the track, the velodrome. And so what would happen is that you would see, in my opinion, people going, 9 wide into the turn for positioning. You would have these fast twitch explosive athletes that would really push.
But then die out.
But they can drop people like me because I'm going to win.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Oh, interesting, because they can get you out of the race.
Correct.
In the beginning.
If they push.
And they need to get rid of you because you'll take them in the end.
Yep.
But then in the end, they're going to get the shit kicked out of them.
That's correct.
Oh my God, that's the greatest event. You should just do this as a giant event.
It would be, and imagine the board
and
the fans watching, and it's like, I would put money on it.
You know
actually,
who's
as
going
a
to win?
horse race.
It's just like it's like we say about CrossFit. We've had this argument since the very beginning. The best CrossFitters, if they were track runners, they're 400, 800 runners.
So it'd have to be somebody in between,
it's
right?
a middle
Somewhere right in the
distancer,
middle
that's what I'm saying.
of your endurance and somebody who's a sprinter.
Yep.
And not getting boxed out because 40 people
boxed out.
But the thing is like we see 40 people all the time in track and field. Just look at the the World Championships. I mean, you're putting 40 people all the time.
Yeah.
It's manageable, but you're going to go wide. Well, imagine if you get stuck. No, it would be and it would be incredible for the fan to watch. And some athletes where they're sitting there, it's like, I need to pull the plug because I'm now 4 miles in.
It would be crazy. I love it. I think it's an awesome idea. The field this year, you coached the best team, the best athlete. Did Mayhem win last year?
Yes.
They did win last year. They lost, 1 year?
Yeah, so, boy, that was a bad thing. So, Brute, I was a founder in Brute, and the year that Mayhem got second, Rich didn't know until after when they lost. And he's like, how could you do that to me? I'm like, I'm an owner in the business. Like, what am I supposed to do?
So let me ask you this.
So now I'm no longer the owner of the business.
As you're coaching these, the going in, the top-rated team, top-rated athlete, who are you afraid of?
The problem with the sport is that there's no control over the event.
Right.
And when they change the point structure,
that's really scary.
That is really a frightening thing. Mm-hmm. And the leads, although they could be as big on the first day, as far as percentages, because of the amount of points as the field drops, the value of those early, days like Thursday and Friday are meaningless.
Yeah, meaningless.
And so you even look at it in terms of the teams. There's only 5 teams making it on the last day.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to make it exciting is that you can never let off of the throttle.
No.
I was talking to somebody about it and they're like, oh, but you know what? Maybe they could just kind of take it easy because in the opening workouts, because they know they'll make it through and the point spread isn't that much and they can kind of save themselves. That'll never happen in this sport, ever. And you can go back and look in 2013 when they had that 2K row into the half marathon. Everybody was saying, there will be some that will just try and win the 2K. And then, you know what? Go ahead and win it because I'm an endurance athlete. I'm going for the half marathon. At 3, 2, 1, go, that entire field sprinted that 2K.
It was insane.
Right.
Insane.
And that's what will happen here. If you do not hit the throttle on day one, event one,
you're gone.
You're gone. You cannot.
They can't let up at all.
And that's what's going to make it really difficult this year because of the points the athletes know they have to be on the rivet. It's funny. It's a bike word. On the edge the entire time. The entire time.
Have you seen this Greek guy, Theodopoulos or whatever his name is?
He went to a course. Yeah, I met him.
He's a beast.
I think that he is a specimen beyond all specimens. I think I find myself, do you ever look at pictures on Instagram and you zoom in and you're like, and then you find yourself like, I think I've been looking at this too long, but you're by yourself. That's what I do with him.
He is, I'm telling you, this guy is my dark horse. This is the guy that I think.
How tall is he? How much does he weigh?
He's got it all.
Just got to look at,
I'll show you him. I'll show you him.
Pull him up.
He's,
you got to look at him. Boy.
How old is he?
He's got it all. He's got it all.
It's like he transcends age and everything. It's like, you look at somebody and you're like, wow. And then you just go deep inside your head. Like some non-shareable thoughts. That's where this guy is.
He's number 1 out of Greece. He doesn't speak English, I don't think, which is funny too. Because it's just going to make it all the more exciting. Let's see, CrossFit Games 2019. Then
you got to go on his Insta.
Look, you put in CrossFit Games 2019, first thing that comes up. Who is CrossFit Games wildcard? Hunter McIntyre. Boy, did this guy get press. He stole the thunder of everyone.
He really, truly has an opportunity.
He has Donald Trumped everyone.
I know. Hopefully he went to charm school in the last 3 weeks. And I love the guy, but he...
Not at all.
He didn't?
Not at all.
Oh,
He's going to be worse than ever.
Oh, man.
And you know what's good about Hunter? You know what I like about him?
No P1 on the water bottles, boys. You just had some estrogen.
Yeah, Bobby doesn't want you drinking plastic ever. Hunter very well could lose and could get knocked out in the first round.
Yes.
And if he does, he is a good loser that he'll just walk away going, I don't care. And he'll go into his next thing. And that's what makes him such a good winner, because he doesn't give a shit.
Where's this guy?
I got him.
He found him?
This is him, right?
Eddie keeps looking at the same page and there's nothing there.
Sorry, Bobby.
You're a whiz on there. Get in there.
All right, here it is. Oh, that's the demo team. I'm looking for the leaderboard. Bobby. Okay, so
I'm just saying. I'm thinking I'm seeing some drugs from where I'm sitting. Just a little, Just a little bit of drugs from where I'm sitting.
Uh,
No, the gorilla,
very
the gorilla belly. That's not drugs. That's not a protruded liver.
let's see.
I call everybody out that takes steroids.
Bobby does. He's very anti-steroid, and why can I not find him?
We're ahead of you.
What's his? But I want to find all his stats, which are pretty impressive.
Here. That's his name.
I think he finished third in the Open. Third or fourth. Here he is. Lefteris Theophindus. And I think he, in the Open, here it was, he finished fourth in the Open. Okay? First in Greece. He, in regionals, he got, last year, he got 26th overall. But I saw a video with him. He said that's when he, turned it on. He's got a back squat. Did I say 640 pounds?
Yes, you did.
Did I just say 640 pounds? A clean and jerk of 400, a snatch of 310, a Fran of 211, but there's no other benchmarks. So, strong guy, but a 211 Fran's pretty impressive too. What is this guy going to be able to do? Because you've got Fraser, who can run his ass off, and
it's not just about. So you have to remember something, that this is an endurance competition. They have multiple events over multiple days.
Right.
And if you are not prepared aerobically, right, one of the major measures of aerobic fitness is recovery. Mm-hmm. If you cannot recover, these stats when you're fresh are irrelevant.
You're a good point.
Right. And so part of it is that these athletes like Fraser, Froning, Katrin, Tia, they have proven time and time again that they dominate on that final day. And so even if you're ahead, it's meaningless because those athletes are fresh.
Froning said to me something that was so amazing. It was one of the best things I've ever heard on the show. I said, how do you stay so humble? Because he seems very humble.
Incredible.
To me. And he said, I lose all the time.
That's true.
He goes, I never win. He goes, if you look at it, he goes, every event, I'm never coming in first.
Yeah.
He goes, but at the end of the day,
no drugs, no plugs, no rugs. That's called hard work. That's me at the Olympic trials, 198.
So I would actually find myself staring at this too long too.
But I'm not on any steroids. This is somebody who trained. I started lifting at 7. I'm 29 there.
Well, I would love to.
And there was no CrossFit games for me, so you know what I did?
Walked around with no shirt on.
I made $7 million being the SoloFlex guy, the cover of Men's Fitness, Men's Health, Men's Journal.
Dude, because there's no specimen like you back then.
Exactly. And I used to walk into auditions and say, well, I'm an athlete. The difference between me and the guys who make believe that they work out.
And now look at him. He just hangs out with me. So where has his life gone?
Yeah, exactly.
In saying that, I have to end this show because they've got our tables waiting for upstairs. Bobby has to feed at all times. He eats more than any human being you've ever met.
We just ate 3 hours ago. I'm done.
I'm only staying till I have to be in Nebraska on Thursday, but I would love to talk to you again. I wish I could talk to you after some of the events.
Well, you are. We're going to get together in Scottsdale. We're going to go out to the Stratosphere.
Will you come out?
Yeah, absolutely.
You will?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a 45-minute flight for us.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe we could. If you want, you could come out and I'll do a course there, and you can come for.
I could set you guys up at the Eagle Mountain. We'll stay a day, and we'll use this Stratosphere.
There's nobody that needs to take your course more than me.
Well, maybe we just do a one-on-one though, and do that 800-meter relay that you guys want to do so bad. Wasn't that?
No.
Eddie will do too. He'll do too, and he's done.
Well, thanks for listening, Chris. If they want to get a hold of you, do you do any kind of do you have your own programming or anything that you do a site or?
So aerobiccapacity.com. I do have a bunch of programming that is that they can source actually through the site. I also do the aerobic capacity course. It's a full 1-day course that we conduct all around the world. I do about 36 of them.
Wow.
I coach them all.
Oh, wow.
Part of it is that, you know what, that's how I learn. I want to go out and I want to meet the people and what's driving the community. You know, what are people looking for? And, you know, like this whole concept of pacing. This was something that wasn't a part of the course. I didn't know that people didn't understand pacing.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people came up and they're like, how do you tell somebody to pace a workout that they've never done before? Like, how would you do it? I mean, we know we don't pace everything.
Do you put heart rate monitors on them?
No heart rate monitor. I mean, part of it is that if we're doing a multitude of movements, what am I using the heart rate monitor for? The only time that I'm interested in heart rate is at the lower intensities, right? So what is, if we call low intensity, what does that actually mean? Like, take, for example, also high intensity, constantly varied functional movements, high intensity. Define that. What does it mean? What is the physiological adaptation that we're targeting with high intensity? So how do you define it? And that's important for people to know. So how are you defining what is high intensity? Is it 1 rep? Is it a 1 minute maximal effort? Is it a 5 minute EMOM?
Yeah, it's a good question.
And so part is that if we're really trying to target general population, what tools are of value and which tools get in the way?
Doesn't it depend on the event or the thing that they want to compete in?
Absolutely, it does.
Right.
So if your general population who wants to do a broad range of movements at a broad range of intensities, does a GPS heart rate monitor actually help, or does it create added confusion?
Interesting.
And in my opinion, a lot of that technology gets in the way for these general population athletes. Part that they need to understand the feel of pace.
You two are the same guy. I met him, Chris, 15 years ago, 20 years ago in Gold's Gym in Venice. And I had met him through a friend named Brian Callen, is always on the Joe Rogan podcast and everything. And he said, I have this crazy friend, blah, blah, blah. And then I see him in the gym and I've got headphones on and I'm on the treadmill and he walks by me and he rips my headphones out of my ears. And I go, what are you doing, man? And he goes, you can't run with music on. And I said, why not? And he goes, you got to feel your body. You got to be focusing on what you're doing.
Well, it's the whole thing he's always been doing. That's why he's disconnected and he's not connected and his heart rate goes through the roof and he's never there.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at people in the gym and it drives me nuts that they're watching television or looking at a magazine. I'm like, you're hurting yourself. You're physiologically not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
And so why would you be training? It's like people are training, but what they're doing is they're not getting the value out of that workout to maximize their adaptation. It's like, why would you do something and do it like half-ass and get half of the value out of it? I don't want to work out all day. I want to go into the gym and I want to work out the least I possibly can and maximize my value.
That's me all the way.
So I had a coach actually, so I hate the headphone thing too. Like then I can't coach an athlete like that. I had a coach that to get me dialed in on my breathing, he had me actually put in earplugs.
So you could hear yourself.
It actually... Yes,
I got the wax ones. They're awesome, man. You bury them in there, and all you hear is boom, 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 and
that's
it's phenomenal.
Because people can't tell their breath.
Oh,
They can't.
I love it.
They can't tell how many steps out. How many?
You know what I do in the morning? I wake up. I got blackout curtains. We're up in Ketchum Sun Valley, so it gets dark really late. And gets light really early, so you're not getting the 9 hours of sleep that you want if the sun comes up and my eyes open. But there's a second hand on the clock, straight from it. Prop my head up, turn on the light, and I look at the clock and I take a long deep breath in and the same thing out. And I work my way up to 1 breath in and 1 breath out every 2 minutes and still maintain 46 beats a minute relaxed in bed. That's how I start my mornings.
That's beautiful.
And I have I got the earplugs in, and I'm listening. I'm feeling. I'm checking my pulse. And it's amazing. And then I carry that with me for a lot of the morning. The long, deep breaths.
All right, we're going to have to continue this love affair.
I got to say though. So one thing. So I think that this constant quest of research and learning, and I'm in that. It's the same thing in the breathing and awareness of breath. is really a critical piece. And I happened to be at Stanford, and I ran into they have a group that's doing a study, and one of the things that they said to me, and this is where I find science interesting. If you don't know enough, you don't know the value of what somebody's saying. And part is like when they said to me, they said, we're doing this project, and the project is essentially timing the compression of the heart with the foot strike. And I sat there, I'm like, that's fascinating. Because I'm thinking right away, when I lift, I brace and I lock everything down. I also think that when my foot hits the ground when I run, the greatest disruption in my body is my heart and the disturbance. And my main limiting factor is the stroke volume, the amount of blood moving to feed the muscles that demand that oxygen. What if there was less disruption while I was running? And the way to do it is to sequence the foot strike with the compression of the heart. That's what ran through my head right away. And they're like, so what did you do? What are you doing about it? Oh, well, we've created an app, and we're playing around with the concept of timing the compression of the heart with the foot strike, and we're looking at the frequency. In my head, I'm like, wait a minute. When I did Ironman, my heart rate was 180 beats a minute. Back then, I was taking 180 steps a minute. Now, there's variation in the heart and all of that, but the fact is that now at my age, I'm running at around 165 steps a minute. And you know what my threshold running pace is in terms of heart rate? 165.
Wow. What
is that a trip? That's where it's like when you're saying things, it's like part is you want athletes to learn, you want coaches to learn, because you can connect in a way where you can move layers upon layers fast without saying things. That's why I think like the conversations and the things we're having is like, you're a source of value for me. Like I can jump and learn things that would take me weeks to learn in scientific literature because I can ask things that I don't know.
You know what a lot of it is?
Talking to the microphone.
Ayurvedic. It's 8,000 years old. It's medicine. Vedantic, and yoga and meditation and Zen and martial arts. The heart and the strike, the heart and striking with hands. It's the same thing. It's all interconnected.
But if you don't know the way the body works, then it's just click. And a lot of times I'll run into coaches and I'll say something like, so are you telling me your limiting factor is that you just get tired? Yes. Okay, so then maybe you should have the athlete focus on improving their ability to recover. Why are you constantly working strength if you just told me the weakness is your recovery?
Good. Are we overtrained or under-recovered? We're under-recovered.
Right, and so part is that it's like we're not looking at these answers, and if a coach isn't receptive to saying, I don't know, then how will you ever get that connection?
You get a Whoop, and you wear it all the time like I do, sponsor of the show. And
great show, man.
And it has told me a million times.
Or, like, you call Chris up, and he gives you the answers.
I wake up, and it'll say, you're a mess. And I look at my data, and I'm like, I would usually go into the gym and work out right now, and I used to get sick all the time, and I used to have all these problems and injured. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm resting. I need to take this day off.
But what's so fascinating about Whoop is that it's a very simple thing. You're looking at it when you wake up and you're like, that's easy to understand.
Yeah.
And that's what it has to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's where technology, it has to be an obvious solution that's easy to understand.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
And there's the problem is like, so even Froning will say, hey, so here's my numbers for my bike ride that I did. Can you interpret it? I don't want to spend all day doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the rabbit hole that's in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough. This has been an honor. I've always wanted to have you on.
Thanks, man. Me too.
Love talking to you and could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. Bobby, thanks for being part of the show.
Thanks for having me up. Such a pleasure to meet you, man. We will get together.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to put you in the stratosphere.
You
will have an avatar effect. In other words, your brain will be intellectually enhanced. You'll be like, this is amazing.
So if you like these guys, send them messages and ask questions and rate, review, comment on iTunes. And come out and see me live. All my tickets are for sale on eddieif.com. I'm all over the place. I'm headed to Nebraska and then New York and then North Carolina and then Sun Valley. I'm doing a show in Sun Valley,
Idaho.
What night am I there?
I'm going to have them sold out. I think it's like the 21st or 23rd.
21st of August.
21st, there you
and then
go.
22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. I'm in Boise. I've got La Jolla coming up. Come to any of my shows. Come say hi afterwards. I love meeting up with anybody that listens to the show. I'll have conversations with you. I'll hang out with you. Go to your gym with you, whatever it is. So I won't sleep with you. I got a wife now.
And 2 kids and a new baby boy.
Yeah.
Cruz.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
So thanks again, guys. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you, man.
Awesome show.
Thank you.